Oh, oh, sorry. Uh, Good evening, everybody. Welcome to session 6 of Well of the Worlds. This session is entitled Aftermath. Um, I don't have much in the way of news or other information, and I want to try to get as much in tonight as possible. So why don't we jump right into our session? Everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. For anybody watching at home, I am suffering a mild vertigo attack, so if I seem a little distracted or not super enthusiastic, I'm trying not to make it any worse by moving my head or eyes around a whole lot, because that's what triggers this. So never get an ear infection. That's our PSA for today. All right, so last session, our heroes, specifically Freya and Lamar, woke very early in the morning before dawn with a sense of foreboding or dread, and they capitalize on that to get everybody else, or the other heroes and villagers, awake, which was good because soon after they woke up, 4 hovering transports full of what you presume are the sky people showed up and attacked. Um, Much to our heroes' surprise, some of them started demonstrating abilities that were far beyond anything that they even suspected before, including casting magic spells, creating constructs of pure force, moving and fighting and dodging faster than they thought possible, um, pulling weaponry out of their mom bag, and encouraging, our game terms, buffing the entire group, although they may not actually know they did that. And in one extreme case, rewinding time. And after a severe battle, our cast emerged victorious, having destroyed. Well, no, two of the sky rafts flew off. About a dozen troopers or so ran away, and then a number of the attackers were either were disabled in some fashion, up to including messily slain, because some of the Huskarls were not pulling their punches. And some of the PCs probably weren't aware of how much damage they were dishing out. If you guys will let me give you a rundown, I have summarized what happened last session. The roof of one of the longhouses was partially burned when Roland blocked an energy bolt and sent it. He deflected it and then realized it went into the thatch roof of one of the longhouses and it started to burn. But you were able to pull the thatch down before the entire building was engulfed, so you just have to basically repair about a third of the roof. About a dozen villagers have suffered bruising, battering, and the effects of shock weaponry, which effectively they're carrying. You will realize that the attackers were carrying not, well, taser-like weapons, but not ones that they shot at you. But ones that sort of gave you a nice electric shock if they touched you with them. 5 villagers have suffered serious injuries. We'll get to that in a little bit. Eric the Valiant has taken a 1 health wound. Vereen of Fearcat was killed, but Freya rewound that possible future, and while he's not dead, his armor is scorched, and he is severely rattled by the experience. His youthful bluster kind of took a hit there when he got into a real fight. Of the attackers, which we are going to presume are the sky people, the village was attacked by 4 floating ships or rafts. And they're open-topped. They're kind of shaped like an iron, or if you look at it from the bottom, a spear, an arrow blade, or arrowhead. And then they have an upper deck with a pilot. And each of these carried about a dozen troopers. And 2 of them flew off into the early morning sky. 2 were abandoned, but are now apparently powered down. The pilots of the abandoned sky rafts are both deceased because Astrid and Eric dispatched them with thrown spears. 40 troopers who worked together in teams and actually like one large line fled. Of those, 14 fled the village and ran off through the farming fields and into the early morning sunlight. And that leaves 26 defeated troopers. Some of them are probably deceased. Roland said he wasn't pulling his punches, throwing spells. The rest of that is up to you. There were, and emphasis on were, 4 commanders. You knew they were commanders because they carried energy pistols and long swords and had faceplates on their helmets. And 3 have been slain. One was definitely speared by Astrid and Eric, and then another was run over by a skyraft. And you have captured a 4th. That will be Commander Munk, M-U-N-K. And with that in mind, I'm going to go around the screen clockwise, starting with Ashlyn, and say, I'm going to say, first of all, we're going to make 2 passes. First of all, what happened to a particular individual in the village? Let's paint me as Arabia would say on Critical Role, paint me a picture with words.
So one of the villagers, a young, but not too young, sort of post-pubescent maybe, so around our 17, 18 equivalent, took a stray blast from one of the commander's weapons and has effectively or will lose half of their right arm as the energy just bubbled and burnt and destroyed everything there.
Okay. Freya.
On the stream, sorry. For everybody else that didn't hear that, they caught a stray spear and got impaled through the chest.
Okay.
I had to hear it again?
Yes, you did. I can go into more detail if you want. Okay.
That's especially unfortunate because the attackers weren't hurling spears.
Oh, they didn't. I thought I read they had spears. Hold on. I was just looking at that. I missed it. Hold on. Come back to me. I'll fix that.
Okay.
And guns.
I'm going to draw a dotted line on my notebook to a new line because I think you're going to make a change or two. Lamar, do you have something for me?
I was going to have, I didn't do anything. I mean, but, from one of the burning log houses, like a burning piece of timber swung down and caught one of the farming people, in the face, leaving like a burned scar, like over like their left eye and their ear and whatnot. But they live. They live to farm another day.
Oh, so we sound the perfect person to... crap, I just forgot his name from Avatar. The prince.
Zuko?
Zuko, yeah. Thank you. Roland.
I'm the only one that actually picked an existing person as opposed to random unnamed person. Mostly because I feel like this would be both good and bad. Because the victim I have chosen is Gormer, the war leader. And through an unfortunate series of events, his left leg below the knee was requiring amputation from that fight. he can continue his job as the leather worker. However, he'll either have to have a peg or he's going to have to hop.
Hey. Freya, I'm coming back to you now.
Okay. Yes.
Is there anything you...
Yeah. So I actually named my NPC. Thank you very much. My NPC's name is Johan, and he was impaled through the chest by a sword. Somebody came up behind him and just ran him through.
Just death.
Yes. I told you I was going to kill somebody.
Death.
Okay. So, yeah. That is 3 people. We don't know what Carlos has come up with, but we have 3 people who are have been maimed or severely wounded, and 1 person deceased. Johan. All right. Well, first of all, I'm going to give everybody resolve for adding to the story. I will probably between now and next session determine like names and such, and write this into the next session's Fallout. So we have this a little more detail. But thank you very much. It gives me some wonderful ideas, or at least gives me some wonderful material. Also, be aware that some of you have some abilities that can help here. Maybe not regrow limbs, but certainly you can manipulate. For example, if Roland sees some of this, you can certainly heal, whether you realize it yet or not, and at least keep people's wounds from getting any worse.
I actually did that last session.
Ah, you did. I forgot. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So now I'm slowly feeling better. It's not getting any worse, so that's good. I can actually read. So, so I'm going to go around the screen again. I know that you guys did a bunch of actions, but basically what we have now is the sun has come up. You can see the village. You can see these. You can now very clearly see these strange, very science fiction looking vehicles. They are all smooth, clean lines. They have sort of pointed prows and squared off rears or sterns. They have about a waist high panel or hull that comes around. You can see that there's supports for what would be, I think this is called on a yacht a flying bridge, but for an upper decker bridge, which also has sort of a waist high rail around it, and then control surfaces, which one of you realized had communications because you saw a hologram, and somebody had I think had a language going, but you had a hologram of what is apparently one of the masters of the world, sort of threatening or talking to you. You can see that that these troopers now, it's much clearer, are wearing a white armor that has a plastic-like surface to it. It's not metal. It's not. It's not ceramic. It kind of looks like real. What if you ever see a stormtrooper or New Order trooper, or even the Aquaman, the Atlantis troopers, the way that smooth, rounded gear of theirs looks. It has that look to it. Lamar, from fighting these guys straight up, that hitting them where this armor was not useful. You and the Huskarls realized, though, that it was not fully encasing. It had gaps, and if you could get a weapon in between the gaps, you could hurt them. They certainly withstood clubs or stones or attacks, but spells and superpowers knocked them down. They also were carrying, some of them were carrying very obviously weapons that fired some sort of energy bolts. Those of you who feel you have a good science background or have sufficient dice in naturalist, which is what science got renamed to for this game. 3 or 4 dice, or maybe sufficient dice in academics. I'm sorry. You can tell. It's my head is not as clear as I'd like, because I can't. All of a sudden, I can't remember anything. It's also been a very busy week. But anyways, sorry about that. I'm gonna open up a general. Oh, that was a bad idea. All right. So if you have like 3, maybe 4 dice in academics, you might think it is like an ionized gas bolt. It certainly is not a laser. You could see it. They impacted with a bit of force. They weren't instantaneous shots, but they certainly burned. And Lamar, you know that the commanders were using long, straight-bladed swords that they wielded with either 1 or 2 hands, and they didn't look. I mean, they look like a sword. Sword's kind of a universal weapon. They're not curved. The hilt is not European. It's not Asian, but it's obviously a sword. And so that is what you have at the moment. And I'm going to reverse, because I started with Ashlyn, and went clockwise. I'm going to start with Roland, go counterclockwise. Roland, what are you up to?
How much time has passed at this point? Is this just the next day?
It's not. The attack started before dawn, so it is now after dawn. It has not been we're really starting maybe shortly after last session ended.
So it's been a couple of hours at most.
We can go with that.
Okay, just making sure, because at this point, Roland is collecting some of the armor and cataloging what they found. He wants to have a meeting with the elders before they question the prisoner. But he also wants to acquire some of this armor for himself.
Okay. I actually have a whole list of things that you can find. We will get that in a little bit, in a little time. All right. Lamar.
Yes, sir.
What extended actions are you up to? Remember, you have a bunch of troopers who are maybe starting to come around, and you have one who's been captured. He was in a force cage last I remember.
Oh yeah. Do I get to heal again, or anything like that, or am I still wounded? Because I was still wounded from the first fight.
You're still wounded. Did you make there is no fast healing, so you're gonna retain this wound until the net.
How much were you wounded? Because Roland did use healing, so I would have prioritized one. I would have prioritized our group first, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I took 2 damage in the first fight. Right, so I was like half dead, and then I got 1 back from the healing, and then we got jumped in the night while I was still 1 down. So that's what, do I get another healing roll, or that's what I was asking, talking about. My bad. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So you would be full up because he would have used his dice of healing first on you.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good. Well, then I appreciate you. Then I would probably be helping, do grunt work, moving wreckage, or digging people out from under stuff, things of that nature.
Right. The vehicles are, unfortunately right now, the vehicles aren't very mobile. You'll have to maybe try to hook up some animals to pull them, but they're not hovering anymore. So you're gonna have to maybe drag them, or they may be stuck here for a while, or you may better use some of your powers to get them out of the village proper. Freya, what are you up to?
Has the fire been put out yet? Because I know that's what Okay.
That was actually that would explain why it's been like a few hours since last session, because you guys between Edgar's constructs and Roland's sorcery, you could contain and remove the roof, and that was what was being done sort of with the fallout of last session. This session is picking up after you've done that, and now you have to deal with the fallout and the realization that with these strange invaders.
Okay, then I would be probably helping clean up, or maybe bandage the wounded, just kind of trying to fill in wherever is needed.
Well, certainly Mother Geetha is is very happy with your assistance, because there's basically one of her and some of her apprentices, such as Vilgurth, and they're kind of overwhelmed. This is not exactly what they expected to have to deal with. So any assistance you can give, even just on the most basic nature, is greatly appreciated.
Happy to help.
Okay. All right, Ashlyn.
Ashlyn would also help with the wounded, being able to pull out at least simple like anesthetics from her bag to help with the injured, the pain, and simple bandages. Very simple first aid stuff.
Okay. All right. Let me copy this.
I'm imagining her pulling out a syringe of morphine and giving one of these villagers morphine for the first time, and them losing their minds.
No, probably not morphine.
I feel like she just pulled out that big old bottle of ibuprofen, was just handing them out.
Okay.
Well, I was thinking more topical anesthetics.
Okay. They're like, what have you done to me, sorceress? Like, just...
She's got a really big tube of Neosporin and ace bandage and
Or would that be
a lot of Band-Aids. Okay. So for a little while, this is what all of you do. Roland, this is where you kind of understand that it's a very sturdy, it's not super lightweight, but it probably weighs a little less than you'd expected, but it's very sturdy. It is some sort of composite material. It feels oddly like a plastic, but maybe an armored plastic to you. If you're picking up weapons, they are armed. They are carrying long, quarterstaff, or if anybody's ever seen THX 1138, wow, that's dating myself. Really long lances with a shock tip. Touching it is like making the mistake, as I did once, of touching the exposed motor to a hard drive. There's a zap and your hand recoils. Actually not. Let me change that.
So is it kind of like a long stun baton?
They're carrying short and long stun batons. The interesting thing is that the ones you pick up, you have no idea how they turn on. They seem to not be working anymore. There's also a lot of knives. Basically, every trooper and commander has a very good quality all-purpose knife. All the ground troopers and pilots have short swords, and they're basically straight-bladed, almost hiltless swords with some sort of artificial or synthetic wrapping on the handle. kind of reminds you of the stuff that you see. I mean, of much higher quality, but that simple tactical commando type knives and swords that you would see in just about any shopping mall that sells that kind of junk. Uh, I, Lamar's going to look over his shoulder at all those swords on his wall. No, what do you mean these? No, these are good ones. But you understand what I mean. Those ones that I think Cold Steel is a online company that has all that, and they are of. If you take a look at those, they're really good quality steel, and they're very sharp and they look very sturdy. There's also pistols that you can find if you collect them. They are they don't look like any handgun you've seen, mainly because if you are familiar with handguns, they don't have a slide, they don't have a magazine, they have a trigger, they have a barrel, they have a grip, they have sights. Other than that, you're not sure how they work, but then they're firing some sort of energy pulse, so you're not sure what you're looking at there. Lamar, moving wreckage and everything, that's greatly appreciated. There's a lot of little things that have been broken or knocked around. The one long house, they've got to get all the burned straw or thatch out of the village proper. They'll take it to the compost piles, and then they've got to figure out how to re-roof. So they've got to work on cutting new material to re-roof this. As for the wounded, with your mom bag and being able to pull out supplies, you're able to be a great help. They do understand a bit of of cleanliness. So there is like water being boiled and cloths being used to wipe down, and one of the long houses is being turned into sort of an impromptu hospital with those who have been battered a bit being laid down, and like a broth is being made, and meat is being given so they can get something to drink and just lay down and rest for a bit until they feel like they can get up again. And that's sort of also for Roland, at least, because you're collecting gear. You realize, I'm going to say, maybe a third of the defeated troops are starting to come around. So that's like maybe 8 of them.
All right, so we're gonna have to tie them up and put them somewhere. I'm gonna call some of the actual armed individuals because I'm pretty sure Roland's not cataloging this stuff himself. So he's like, we need to do something about these guys.
Well, yeah, Roland, you have collected Brecca, a somewhat disoriented Vereen, but he's not suffering flashbacks like I thought I was dead. Well, he kind of thought he was dead, and the bolt just missed him. So he's dealing not with some sort of horror nightmare where he's going to relive what Freya did to him, because I'm not going to be cruel, but he's dealing with the fact that a bolt missed him, or just glanced off his armor, and he sort of saw his life flash before his eyes. And because he's only like 20 in Earth years, he had to ask for a replay because there wasn't a whole lot going on there. But he is encouraged by Brecca to help you and collect things, and you're sort of shadowed by Astrid and Eric, who are sort of looking and realizing that some of these guys are alive, if in various stages of hurt. And yeah, the question about what to do with them is coming around. There's also the dawning realization that you fought and defeated. They're thinking these are Sky people. And you fought and defeated Sky people. I mean, they did, but certainly you guys showed crazy wonder worker powers. So this is something that has never happened in their known history before. And they're sort of coming to grips with having done the impossible.
Well, Roland did throw up a temporary sun.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah. So also, Eric and Astrid got to see Lamar fight and he was a complete blur. So, in fact, Lamar, Eric will clap you on the shoulder at one point and say, I believe you have earned that coat from the Jarl.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
So I am going to ask Eric and Astrid what the usual protocol is for injured on the, in this case, if they even have something. Roland would prefer not to kill, but this is also, they're representatives of the Jarl, and this is his land. So Roland wants to do what the Jarl would prefer.
So, Eric and Astrid, think about this for a minute. And Eric says, if they were raiders, which we have had to deal with from time to time, they would be executed as an example to those who would test the Jarl and the protection that he extends to those villages that pay him fealty. I think, since they came in the night and came quietly, that they intended something akin to raiding. But they seemed to be looking for you. They called to capture outsiders, which I think are you and your friends, your fellow wonder workers. I think that we need to bring these people to the Jarl for his judgment. Perhaps I will not try to think his mind, but I say that we bring them and show them to him so he knows what happened here.
This is not something we wanted visited upon the Jarl's people. That's why we defended them. But I would prefer that they be brought forth to be judged by the Lord of the land. To me, that is just.
I do not think we can ever thank you enough. I fear if none of us had been here, this village would not have seen the dawn. They would have taken everyone, or at least destroyed it if they could have not found you.
All right. Roland's going to get back to work collecting the gear. He's going to for the sky people that are exceptionally wounded. He's going to have them restrained, but make sure that their wounds get tended because he doesn't want them to die if he can avoid it. He didn't realize he wasn't pulling his punches during the fight because he's not a fighter. So this is the first time he'd used his magic. This is the first time he'd gotten into like a real life-threatening fight. So now he's kind of realizing, wow, I have the ability to destroy life. Yeah.
Right. In what may be a little unnerving to you, Roland, too, is Astrid and Eric are not slapping each other on the back and sort of cheering over what they've done, but they're also not too broken up about it.
They're professional soldiers, so he's yeah.
And they are treating you, Lamar. They now seem to feel that you're much like. Well, I mean, you've proven that you're much like one of them. So whether Lamar is like, did I really do all that or not, is up to you.
Yeah, no. He's embraced that he is that guy.
Okay.
He's like, yeah.
Well,
looking forward to getting his coat. And he's totally taking one of those straight swords so he can put it in his mouth.
Are you really going to pull a Zorro?
Oh, dude, it's gonna be great.
are you gonna go for one of the long or one of the short swords?
Let's go with long. Why not?
All right. So, Lamar, what you need to note down on your character sheet is you have, I would say, put it down as a Sky People longsword.
Alrighty.
And what it is a plus 2d melee versatile.
Okay.
And I'll explain if you want an explanation, I'll give that to you in a moment.
I'll figure it. I can. It fits an act. No, yeah, you can just tell me in a little bit. Yeah.
So what that means is, if you use it, it's 2 dice one-handed, 3 dice two-handed.
Okay. 2D versatile.
But if you're going to fight with a sword in each hand and another one in your mouth, we'll worry about that when you start perfecting that stunt.
That works. Alrighty. Hey Ash, is it just like a bottomless bag, like pulling out, or can you put stuff in it?
I'm pretty sure I can still put stuff in it. That's not her accent. I'll find it eventually tonight.
All right. Then I grab a set of armor that I think might fit me, and then I try to get Ash to shove it in her bag, just in case.
I'm trying to catalog the armor here.
Well, you could catalog it minus this one. She's just like trying to shove like a leg in her bag. Is this how this works?
Yeah, I don't think you can put things in her bag.
In fact, if Ashlyn puts the bag down and Lamar tries to shove stuff into it, correct, it does not go in there.
It would be set down like against wherever she's helping tend to people. There's no reason for her to have it actively on her unless she needs something.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So basically, it has as much space as the bag would normally have. So you're like, how is it she pulls all this, like puts her entire arm into the bag, and I can't get this breastplate halfway down.
Just set it down, and I will put it in there later.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. He stops putting the leg part in, and it's just like, okay. Do you need help? I have some hands.
You can help me finish cataloging. We got to give some of this stuff to the Jarl. Some of the stuff should probably stay in town. Let the girls do their thing, man. Help me out.
Okay. Alrighty. What's this thing?
By the way, just in case anybody's wondering, Carlos is not a two-dimensional, or sorry, Edgar is not a two-dimensional cutout. He is, in fact, a telekinetic forklift. So he's using his constructs to move first a lot of the burned material thatch out, and then he's bringing fresh material in, and sort of he's like holding masses it up while other villagers start repatching the longhouse roof. So in case anybody wonders, he's over there, and so you guys are all over here. He's in the background of a lot of shots, if we're looking at this like a comic or a film. But we're going to concentrate on you guys because he's not here right now. So a quick note. I don't know whether Freya or Ashlyn will notice this because you're busy helping the injured and so on. But if you're stripping armor off those who are deceased, this is where you would really notice that these look like what you understand to be the scaled people. Hey, I'm feeling way better. Sorry about that. I just realized I could move my head around a bit more. So thank you for your patience with vertigo attack there. So what you notice is you remember there was the merchant in Ashcam who looked kind of like a cross between a human and a skink. He had a very human body, but he had a long tail, sort of a human-linked neck, but instead of the flat, round skull like a human has, he's got like an extended skink face and head, something, or if you've ever seen like an alligator lizard like I have, something like that. So he's got a smooth scaled. Well, these guys all look like that. They look to be these scaled people. They're all of a similar height. They're all about 6 feet tall, and because they have a humanoid framework, they've got a same humanoid sort of skeletal structure and muscles. They're not small. Now, they're not particularly, I mean, they're kind of broad and muscular. They're definitely soldier type material. The commanders are even a little bit bigger. So we're talking 6'2", 6'4". Now, they're not massive and they're not skinny, so they've got that sort of athletic build to them, and they are equipped underneath the armor. They are equipped with a sort of body stocking so that the armor goes over. And everything is pretty much identical. It's all mass-produced gear. The troopers are not. There's a little variations in color and face and everything. You can learn to tell them apart, although they look much more similar to each other than any other people you've seen so far. But they are a variety of colors: browns, blacks, grays, a little blue, a little green. Some of them have like some faint banding and so on. And they, you understand words too. They can talk. All the troopers except for the captured commander also are kind of easy to order around. They look very disoriented. They, a best way to describe it is they seem surprised they lost. This wasn't supposed to happen. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Well, let me take a look at that. Oh, that's a really tiny picture. They don't have the crests. So, and also they don't have digigrade legs. So they're kind of like Star Wars. Some of the Star Wars are. Damn it! I'm sorry. I never. Why am I apologizing for swearing? I know there's like a reptile species in. Oh, great! Wow, the first person adventure game with all the damn dragons, Skyrim. So basically, they look like a human, but with a tail and with like a snake-like, or with a reptile head. So I mean that's a good enough for the head and body, but the legs are wrong and they don't have the crests. So Roland, that's a rough idea of what we're talking about.
Well, hello, Raiders. We just got a raid from Clockwork Tuba. Welcome.
Yeah, guys.
What's that mean?
That means Clockwork Tuba's stream ended and he shunted all his viewers over here. It's called a raid.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So I'm going to go back. Now, you guys have had some FaceTime. Well, actually, what I'm not 100% tonight, but I'm going to power through. I think it's a good idea to sort of do a little bit of time skip. I don't want to sit there and narrate constantly, so I think it's a good idea for the four of you to get together. We'll say this is toward the around lunch-ish, so it's almost noonish. Food is being brought out for everybody. The village is mostly cleaned up. Your captured individual, the corpses are being dragged or hauled out of the village, and there's a question about what to do with them. And there's a kind of idea that these are weird, strange people from the sky, and they're not sure whether they want to burn them or not. But they're definitely going to get their bodies out of Fearcat. So, and we'll get back to, we'll ask Carlos the important question a little bit, but right about now, there's the individual villagers come to each of you and basically almost by the elbow start to haul you away from whatever you're doing, explaining that you need to eat now. And they have made food and drink for the Wonder Workers of Fearcat because they saw what you did, casting spells, fighting with swords, doing other, using a strange weapon that the rifle that you had, helping with your constructs there, Carlos. So they're bringing sorry, Edgar. So they basically get all you together and start and feed you. So we're now going to switch scenes to the 5 of you sitting around, catching your breath, and now being able to engage and decide what you're going to do next. And I'm just going to listen for a bit.
Hey, Freya.
So this is our shawarma scene?
This is our shawarma scene.
Nice.
Do you think maybe we're doing more harm by staying here? I mean, they were looking for us. And they wouldn't have been if we weren't here.
I do, honestly. I think the longer we stay, the more raids are going to happen, and the more innocent people are going to get hurt.
How'd they even know where we were at?
Refresh my memory real quick. When I had the vision of them before they attacked us, did I see anything to suggest that they how they knew that we were there? I can't remember.
No.
Okay.
No, you saw though super science type structures and environment. So you're not sure how they specifically knew, but you saw extremely high technology. What looked like hovering, maybe. I mean, these things were hovering, and they weren't hovercraft. There was that same blue light, or there was a blue light around them. You were in some sort of Star Trekky, J.J. Abrams Star Trekky looking set. There was massive troopers. There was these enormous masters of the world that looked like humanoid serpents. So, yeah, you're not sure how they knew, but they're not using swords and spears, so they have interest. They have technology that you don't fully understand.
Okay. What we talked about earlier, I think they just have a lot of technology, but I don't know for sure how they knew we were here. But they were definitely looking for us, and I feel Go ahead.
I get the feeling they were tracking us. I had a chance to have a brief, and I say brief because I didn't actually get to do much more than say hi. I had a brief interaction with one of what I assume is, if they have, based on the way these guys have been acting, I have the feeling they live in a caste system. So, the foot soldiers are under the commanders, and the commanders are under generals, and then so on. And I don't know if I spoke to a general or someone above that in terms of a caste, but one of them said, "I'm hunting you foreigners," or something like that.
Isn't that just a military structure?
I don't know if it's
necessarily mean the whole society's like that. I mean, these are obviously some sort of military force.
Right. It could have been a military structure, but that's what it is. Like, I got the feeling that this person was expecting to hear about a victory right away, but they knew they were after us. He called us. I don't remember if he used the word foreigner or if that's maybe what my brain supplied. And I didn't actually understand them through their communicator until magic.
I hate to agree with Roland. You know that, right?
I know.
That's kind of the feeling that I got when I saw what I saw.
What'd you say the ones in charge were called again? Do we know the phrase, Lord, I can't even remember now.
No, not yet, because you haven't talked to any troopers. I've kind of
Okay.
gotten ahead of myself.
Okay.
My apologies.
Scratch that question. Sorry, I was trying to establish it in character. So we don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume these are, like, generals or something, as opposed to, like, a field commander, if it is a military structure. So we can call them that for now, if we need to call them something.
Freya, what did you see? Like, was it somewhere else?
Oh,
Away from...
nothing. I didn't see anything.
You just said you saw something.
No, I didn't. Don't worry about it.
I mean, you can all see the sort of high-tech stuff that they've got, right?
Yeah.
They're obviously a lot more advanced than most of the farming folk and whatnot. So, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that thought. It just kind of ran away from me.
And you're sure, Ash, you're sure that you don't think these people are, like, drugging us or something, and that's why this is going on?
Drugs wouldn't make me able to pull a hunting rifle out of my bag, honey.
Just except Opal.
I mean, it could be a mass hallucination because they've been drugging us the whole time. I'm just saying. I think that's something that we need to consider.
Does it make a difference at the moment?
I mean...
It still hurts if we get injured.
That's true.
It could be one of those, like, Florence Pugh, Don't Worry Darling things where we're all sucked into, like, a... It could be, but you're right. From our perspective, this is real. And
I'd rather Jumanji.
That, I agree that that's preferable. But yeah, I mean, from our perspective, this is real, whether or not it's actually happening. I mean, I feel pain here, and tired and hungry. So I don't know what else we can do besides treat it like it is reality.
I think what we were planning before is good, to head towards down the Great Trade Road towards that city that they keep talking about. The
advanced city.
There's a couple of cities they mentioned, right? There was the Monarch with the two queens.
The city of Stone and Steel.
Stone and Steel, and there was some stuff in between also along the Great Trade Road. That means we have to go back to Ashcan, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you're right. If they're tracking us, I think our staying here is more dangerous than not. Although, we really should maybe talk to them about having a really good escape plan in case these things want revenge. Right, against the town. But yeah, I think you're right there.
I think it's probably more likely that they'll just come after us. It's a bit hard to become a nomad tribe when you rely on farming.
I mean. Well, then you just
Yeah, they're the farming people, not the wandering people, right? So
you'd have to spend no less than a season in any one place anyway.
This is true. Okay, a civic planner I am not. All right.
So okay. I think how's the town doing now after all the stuff we've done today? How is everyone doing?
I'm doing all right. We got we have a couple injured.
I had to help amputate a child's arm today. I wouldn't say we're doing all right.
We got attacked by aliens in the night, and like 3 people died on our side. I think
Isn't everything here alien anyway? They ain't any more alien than
they came on literal
in Ashcan,
shooting lasers from their guns. This is the most.
So they're high tech. High tech don't mean alien. They just have more advanced technology than we do.
How long do you think it's safe to stay and help them? how soon before we have to move on?
Well, we don't know how they were tracking us, so honestly, I'd say the sooner we leave, the better it is for them in the long run.
We need to go to Ashcam first of all. I was talking to Eric and Astrid about what to do with the survivors, and they suggested we take them in front of the Jarl. Since this is his land, I feel like that's local justice and escorting them. I'd like to see if we can retrofit some of that armor to fit us. Maybe paint it up so it's not that same kind of white. But if they're going to come after us, we need to protect ourselves.
That's fair.
See, that's what I've been talking about. That's what I've been saying the whole time.
I wanted to catalog everything so I knew what the village could keep to protect themselves, how much we should give to the Jarl, because this is his land. Spoils like this probably belong to him. And, well...
I mean, they seem pretty lax and chill from what we've talked to them. Like, I'm not saying that, like, stuff won't trickle back to them, but I'm not over here thinking that they're literally taxing us for war spoil.
I doubt they're going to care if we take some of this stuff for ourselves, considering we were a large force. But I don't know if you've really thought about this, Lamar, but
He hasn't.
those were people. I don't know how many of them I blew up. It didn't hit me in the moment because of the adrenaline and the fear of death. But I killed men today.
Yeah.
And you're feeling guilty about these, but not killing the fleeing giant people?
Exactly.
There's a difference between the giant people.
No, there ain't.
Oh,
No,
yes,
there
it
ain't.
is.
No, there ain't.
You might not believe it, but yes, there is.
Not when they're fleeing.
Do-do-do-do-do.
They're not just mindless animals, no matter what you might think.
No, there's a big difference between someone who is an army and someone who is a reckless endangerment.
She was running away.
So you're telling me if the giant people had laser cannons, you would have let them? You would have treated them differently?
Oh, I might have killed the kid, but that doesn't mean that I can't look at this and go, I have the ability to kill more than one individual. I killed 5 men with a single explosion.
Great, so you're just a psychopath then.
I don't have to hear this from you, but I would like to at least acknowledge the fact that, yes, these beings are after us. I killed 5 men. I could probably do it again pretty easily. I don't want to do it. But I also realize that these people, this town was in danger of invaders, first of all, from the giant people. And yeah.
The giant people weren't invading. They were just surviving.
Okay. And she was a viable. What do you do with bears when they're? Yeah.
I don't care. She was fleeing, and you should have let her go. She wasn't an animal.
You might believe that. I don't believe. I
know
don't believe
that. Why do you think it translates as people if they ain't people? They're the giant people, not the giant monsters, not the giant animals, not the giant beasts. They're the giant people.
And I don't regret doing that because of the fact that those are more common and a bigger danger to this town than the sky people.
How do you know that?
When was the last time they talked about sky people invading?
Literally when we were in Fearcat. When we were in Fearcat.
You're talking about today, right? When was the time before that?
No, I'm not talking about today. We weren't Ashcam. Sorry, that was me out of character, forgetting which settlement was which.
Right.
When we were in Ashcam.
And they were talking about the town that disappeared how many seasons ago?
That don't matter. You don't know how common these are. We've seen a very, very small part of this place.
They were afraid of us being sky people from the first. We remember we almost had swords drawn because I explained how we came in off of planes. The sky people have been a threat since day one. We've always known that the sky people were something to be feared.
Well, this conversation isn't productive to our problem right now. Right now, we need to figure out when we need to leave so that we can keep these people safe, so that we are not the reason these people everybody here gets killed.
I mean, I'm all for taking a road trip. I have a coat to get anyway.
I mean, if we're taking the...
Just because you can kill something or make explosions or slice things in twain or pull a nuke out of your bag doesn't necessarily mean we need to do that, right? Are we clear?
I can't believe you're the one saying that, to be honest.
When have you had the worst... You guys have the worst view of me, and I've never done anything mean.
You're always the first one to draw your damn swords.
I've killed the least people. I've killed
Actually, I'd say the person who's killed the least is probably Edgar and Freya.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think they've killed anybody.
Just shove them.
I don't think I've killed nobody neither.
Is Lamar frozen?
He's frozen, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was making sure it's not just me. So yeah, regardless, I think we're okay with self-defense, right? Just in general, I think that without people running away as a group, right? I think we're okay with self-defense. Beyond that gets a little trickier, right? Both ethically and practically. Do we want to leave as fast as tomorrow morning?
I mean, if we're keeping the survivors alive, then it probably is best that we leave in the morning so they're not stuck around any longer and none of them can get ideas.
And I didn't hear what happened to the ships that powered down. Are they still here? Are they gone?
They're still here.
Are we taking those?
I don't know if we know how to operate those.
They're inoperable. They're not powering up.
How much do they weigh?
They're vehicles. They weigh tons.
Yeah, that's how many tons?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I can't lift tons.
We'll see what happens then.
Well, I was thinking that I might be able to. I have magic. I might be able to turn one of the scrap both of them and turn them into one functional vehicle.
How does magic suddenly make you an engineer of future technology?
It's magic. Magic can do almost anything.
No, that ain't how it works.
That's literally how magic works. It's like the ability to do impossible things.
Magic is not the do-all button.
What?
Magic has rules, whether you know them or not.
I mean,
it's not an I win button.
I don't even believe he actually has magic.
I'm sure.
Do you have?
Can you name a story where magic, where people that have magic haven't won at the end of the story using magic? Can you name one?
Well, Lord of the Rings, he didn't win with magic.
Gandalf definitely won with magic. Are you serious?
I'm not talking about Gandalf. Gandalf didn't win in that series.
He beat up a flaming dragon and came back. It was not. Magic won the day.
It was a Balrog, not a dragon.
Okay.
And for two, I'm talking about Samwise Gamgee.
Like at the end of the Lord of the Rings, wasn't like the whole ring being destroyed and the magical explosion to killing Sauron? That was a pretty big thing to the movie, right?
But that ain't magic. Isn't how they destroyed the ring.
Okay, this is not productive to our current situation.
So I was thinking more along the lines of floating disc or something maybe we can use to try to carry those things if we wanted to get them out of town. Because also if they're here, they might come back for them. So I think we should try to move them, get them away also somehow.
That is a good point.
They might be able to track it, so we need to be careful where we put it too.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna first of all, I want everybody to take another resolve for that wonderful debate there. Now, Carlos, shit, I keep screwing that up. Edgar, the problem is in almost every other game, people put their player character name first, and you guys have put your name first, and it messes me up. Edgar, I would like to ask you to consider what happened to one of the villagers. I'm going to give you a brief rundown. This is very brief. I'll type it up better and then get you guys and have you guys, if you want to write any additional information. But Ashlyn stated that one of the younger villagers took I don't know if that was 7 to 18 seasons or 17 to 18 years.
The equivalent to 17 years.
Okay. So a young adult took a stray blast and lost part of their right arm. One of the villagers is dead, having taken a sword to the chest. Another villager caught a burning piece of timber in the face and will survive, but will have a nice scar so they can play Zuko in the upcoming Fear Cat adaptation of Avatar. And then Gormir, the war leader, is lost a good portion of his left leg below the knee. So I'm going to ask, what can you tell me about one particular villager who got wounded or is worse off than average?
This is rough on the town, but currently Burger the Joyous is incapacitated. Something like in a coma. He was knocked out and he hasn't woken up yet. He's the town carpenter that was really kind to us and stuff. So that might be difficult, and hopefully he'll recover. But he currently is just not responding to stuff.
See, I'm not the only monster. He incapacitated somebody too.
A named person. So yeah.
You killed someone.
You deaded someone and left their children orphans.
I did.
Yeah.
I did see that. It was like orphan.
Edgar, I am not going to tell some previous players what you said, so they don't hunt you down, because he was.
Is Herger a favorite?
He was a favorite in the very first game. He showed up. They did a bunch of blue books in between sessions, and they actually spent 4 weeks. So that really hit them hard when I asked for what happened. But all right, well, I will note, by the way, that he may not be incapacitated for long, because Roland's magic is going to his head, and he may try to heal once everything regenerates tomorrow morning. Then he'll be insufferable. So please also take another resolve for that as well. So this is a very enlightening conversation, and I'm yes, okay, I'm glad you guys are arguing in character and not out. About this point, though, Eric and Astrid will come over. They have pretty much cleaned their gear, so they're a little. So the blood stains and everything aren't quite as obvious to rub the point home for those who are uncomfortable with realizing what happened. But the two of them, trailed by Brecca and Vereen, will appear while the 5 of you are eating. And leaning on their spears, Eric will say, "I heard you mention leaving tomorrow morning. I also heard you mention that you fear you will be pursued by the Sky People wherever you go. Ashton and I have spoken. We understand your decision. We understand why you cannot stay. We think you would be a valuable addition to this village or any other. You will always be welcome here. I think the Jarl will extend that. But if you must leave, we will go tomorrow. We will bring the surviving Sky People for the Jarl's judgment. And I think he will have gifts for you, so that your journey is not as difficult as it might be. And I think we will be sad to see you go, and I think he will extend a welcome that you will always, if you ever return. What is it you need us to do?"
Well, I think right now y'all need to rest. After what everybody's been through, I think everybody needs to rest right now. That way we all have the energy tomorrow.
I agree, and I will say thank you for those gracious words and for your hospitality. I know we could, at the start, use your advice at the very least, because we do want to leave. We will travel to Ashcam, and we do want to leave the prisoners there, but we also have questions and concerns about what is appropriate to leave with the Jarl and what is appropriate for us to use for our own both understanding of the Sky People and potentially protection from the Sky People. So any advice you can give us on those matters would be appreciated.
I would recommend that you make some gifts of some of what has been captured here. These are fine blades these strange soldiers carried. Certainly present him with some. Perhaps a helmet. This is not gear we can use. We are not of the scaled people. And this is not any. I mean, he doesn't have a piece, but he says the armor they wear is strange. It is not flexible, and he sort of raises his arm so you can see the coat of mail he has on. It is almost like a shell. Do you have any idea how to make those wagons? How to move them?
I think between Roland and myself, we have things that we can try. So, yeah, I think we can try.
Can you pull a jet engine out of your bag?
No, I can't.
Okay. I thought we were going to try to set like a land speed record. Just strap it on the back of one of those things would be great.
I've tried a few things, but I can only, I think, pull out what I intimately know. So that rifle I was using, my uncle taught me how to hunt with one.
Oh, okay.
And I think it might have been that exact same one.
You wouldn't happen to be an expert on Ferraris or anything, would you?
No, I was never big into cars.
Okay.
Though I did have a Jeep, but I don't think it would fit in my bag, so I don't think it would, fit.
It does seem like we can pull out piece by piece, so we can start with the carburetor. That probably won't work, but yeah, I think we have. Yeah, I do think we have ways to try to move stuff.
So Astrid says to you, Ashlyn, she's I think rest will come in a day or two. The slain invaders will not be need to be burned, and so we are preparing a pyre, and then their ashes will be scattered on the fields so that their deaths may bring new life to this village. We will be ready to leave early tomorrow morning. We will gather up these prisoners and bring them with us.
Do you guys
If there's anything else you need, let us know. But I saw some of what you could do, looking at all of you. She says this. I'm not sure how we could help. You have exhibited powers of the wonder workers of legend. We may follow you this time.
Well, it may not be what we can do, but always remember this is your home. We're strangers here. You know it like we don't. And that's always a big help.
All I have heard from the merchants is that the city of Stone and Steel is one of the greatest on the Great Trade Road. It is some distance away, several hands, and perhaps hands of days, especially if you move just on foot. We may be able to give you a horse, a wagon, so that you can at least bring sufficient stores. But that is possibly, if you go from there, perhaps you can find allies, supplies, or directions. Should we talk to these people? They seem to have words. We seem to understand some of their words. Unlike the giant people, they have a language.
I think that'd be a good idea.
I thought someone had. Didn't Roland? Oh, you talked to them via magic, not the prisoners. Yeah, that is a good idea.
One of the commanders lived, right?
Yep.
Monk?
You don't know the name yet, but yeah, you have a captured commander which was restrained. I don't remember exactly. You guys use your powers to restrain them.
Didn't I talk to him when we had our duel? We had that little moonlit thing where I was like, I'm the hidden machine, and he's like, I'm Monk. And then Roland came in out of nowhere and punched the dude in the face.
Yeah, okay, I think you did get a name.
Great. Who's good at interrogation? I just want to lean towards saying Freya, but Ashlyn might also do.
Yeah, so from day one, Ashlyn's had the face specialty.
I know. I was only kidding.
I don't know that I would be good at it, but I would like to be there.
Okay.
Ashlyn.
I think I'll be there if you have trouble understanding them, but I want to take a look at these ships and see if there's something I can do about it. Maybe, this might be a tall ask, but maybe magic will give me the answer. Even if I can't do it with magic, it might help me find some secrets. So, go talk to them. I'm going to go look at these vehicles and see if I can do something about it.
All right.
Sounds good.
Ashlyn, I was saying Freya is intimidating. That's kind of what I was hinting at there. But I think I think you might be a good choice to interrogate them.
That's actually what Freya is going to suggest. Ashlyn, you question them. I would like to stand behind them and just kind of put my hand on them.
So, classic good cop, bad cop.
Sure. Essentially, she wants to try to, get a vision from them while you're talking to them, while you're distracting them.
Yeah, I don't think she's told Ashlyn exactly what she can do yet.
She told her a little bit last time, but I don't think she was too freaked out to really go into detail.
Yeah.
Lamar, what are you going to be doing?
I would definitely also want to talk to Mr. Monk.
And Edgar?
I'm going to go with Roland and look at the ships to see if we can figure out what to do with them.
Okay. All right. I'm going to call a very early bio break because I need one. So it is 7:20. I'll see everybody at 7:30.
Yeah, back in 10, folks.
Be back in 10 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. All right. So let me double check here. We have Edgar and Roland going to look at the two immobile vehicles, currently immobile, and Ashlyn, Freya, and Lamar are going to question the captured troopers. Since Edgar got in late, let's give him a little more face time. Edgar, you and Roland are going to go over. I think I gave you the description. Kind of imagine a vehicle a little bit like the Jabba the Hutt sand skiffs, but with a body kind of like an iron, like a standard steam iron, pointed prow, flat back. Interesting. You think about it. If you look at it from below, if you were looking at it from below, it would look kind of like a spear blade, a little bit like an arrowhead. It has sloping sides that come up to about the waist. It's got a flat deck, and then it has 4 pillars that support another deck. that has a pilot's location on it, or cockpit, or an open bridge. They don't look to be the most streamlined vehicles. They look a little odd. They certainly don't look like military vehicles, but they can carry about a dozen troopers. They hover, apparently. They move rather quietly. There's no tracks if you ever look out, like where they must have come from. So obviously they came through the air. They probably can fly. I think you saw them rise over the wall. So they certainly aren't hovercraft. There's no fans. Perhaps they really work off something like Star Wars repulsors. And they're just, both are sitting there. They sort of switched off after Roland argued with a hologram. And so you have these two vehicles, and they're very interestingly, they're very they're the same kind of look or style as the armor. It's a lot of this white material making the body. So they have that, now that I think about it, as I've said before, that J.J. Abrams Star Trek look to them. It's blue and white and chrome and kind of shiny. They show use, but the vehicles look reasonably clean and very well, as far as you can tell, well maintained. They don't have that used future look that you would see in Star Wars.
Okay, so now that I'm close up, these are a lot bigger than I thought they were. So you argued, Roland, with a hologram? What happened?
I didn't really argue with the hologram. So when Lamar and I were on one of the vehicles and up on the pilot seat, and a hologram showed up it looked like one of them, but more snake-like. Mm-hmm. And it basically told me, I don't remember everything, I'm going to be honest. I was kind of coming down from an adrenaline high. It basically told me that they were hunting us. And yeah, I couldn't get too many words in before it cut the communication and then shut the ships off.
Okay. Wow, these are going to be difficult to move unless we can get them powered up again. Yeah, well, it's true. You do have magic. Yeah, that is true. I just want to see if I can, and this might not even be possible, but I want to see if I can make like a sled for one of them of some sort with the construct, just to check. These things are tons, obviously. I'm going to try, and I'm not expecting to succeed, but I'm going to try. Technically, I think I can lift about 25 tons with it. Well, I can lift about 25 tons with the construct, but these might be bigger than that. So I just want to check and see. I'm going to try to make a sled.
All right. First of all, they are not 25 tons.
Okay.
They are about 30 feet long. Let me check here. Now, where's their stats? Here's their stats. All right. So how much constructs do you have?
10. 10. I have 10D construct.
10D. Okay.
Or is it 8? Maybe it's 8. Hang on. Let me look and see.
It should have 8.
You're right. It's 8. So it's not 25 tons. It is less than that. Sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Hang on one second and I can tell you. Yeah, it's going to be 8. So that is 5 tons. There you go.
Right. Well, they have 8 body, but they don't weigh 5 tons because these are flying vehicles and they're super advanced flying vehicles. So with a little bit of work, you can certainly lift one up. Now, you can't do 2 at once. You can do 1. It's going to pretty much require you to be at full power, but you can you can construct simple force fields. Mm-hmm. So you can sort of lever one of these things up and move it. It's not the fastest thing but it's sort of pushing your power limits there.
Absolutely.
Move one.
Yeah, and that's And if we want to move it away, it's going to take a while. Like if Roland, if you have something faster than this, because this isn't easy, and I have to be concentrating this on the whole time, and I'm afraid if I cough, I'll just drop the whole thing. So if you have an alternative, also let me know.
Well, I have an idea. I'm going to need you to hold the vehicle up so I can inspect it.
Okay.
But I'm reminded, these things remind me a lot of Star Trek, and I'm reminded of a very good quote by James T. Kirk that I could probably use to make myself understand, well, futuristic vehicles. Because it seems like every time I want to cast a spell, like when we were in combat, I was just saying like movie quotes. And I don't know, this feels right.
What? Okay. What is it?
All right, Nomad, repair the unit. I'm going to go ahead and mimic expertise. I should be able to easily mimic that up to 8 dice since it's 1 point for 2 ranks. Or 1 rank. 2 points is like 1 rank. Something like that. It's 1 for 2 if I remember correctly. Which should give me 8 dice for craft. With a specialization in futuristic vehicles.
Just saying.
Because that's what expertise does.
If you have to go under it, just be really fast.
Yeah. I should be able to mimic a rank of speed as well at the same time. So, I guess I have to make a roll now to inspect the vehicle and try and figure out if I can turn it on.
Yeah, you need to. It's not going to be easy. The threshold is very high because this is a ultra tech device. But you are trying to make intuitive logic jumps by asking your magic to fill in the gaps that you yourself don't know.
Correct. And specifically, I used a quote from Star Trek because I felt like it was thematic.
What was the quote?
All right, Nomad, fix the unit. It's a quote from James T. Kirk. So, there we go. All right, 8 dice.
You're going to tell the Skyraft I'm lying to you right now.
All right, I got 4 successes.
All right, so this is what I'm going to let. This is a little important here. Let me check something. All right, so you received a failure with a silver lining. Now it says I determine the nature of the silver lining. So you look at this, and you are, as I said, you were drawing upon this power, this that lets you kind of warp reality, because you basically cast magic and forced your will upon the world around you, which is kind of one of the definitions of how magic works. So you are trying to do that. Edgar is holding this vehicle up, and you're looking at the undersides, and so the failure is that you begin to realize that you kind of understand what you're looking at. This is a hover flight device. It runs off some sort of electricity. You can tell. I mean, you can see that it's not. It has power. You can tell these are conduits. There's this is hardware, but it's escaping you. But the silver lining is you begin to think that it's so advanced that it never worked for you, but it worked for them. And the other thing that you begin to think about is that when you were collecting weaponry, there were like unconscious or dead soldiers holding these shock batons or lances, and when you and the ends were crackling, but when you yanked one out of their hand, it immediately stopped crackling.
I think these things are keyed into the pilots. You don't put it down, by the way.
Thank you. Are you out of the way? Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm out of the way. If I can, it'll take some time, but I might be able to figure out how to key it to one of us.
Okay. Can you transform into one of those flea stack things, or no?
One of those things? Probably not. I don't think I have that kind of power.
Checking. I don't know what kind of power you have. Okay. Well, that is useful. I don't want to. Can you control one of them?
I mean, I made one of them move when it had power.
I meant one of those lizard people.
Oh, maybe if I can come up with a good movie quote or something.
Okay, well, think about that, because maybe we can have one of them drive it if you can, guarantee they don't do something crazy. But I don't know if anyone will like that idea. But it's a possibility. We have possibilities now, and that's good. So let's think about that.
Yeah. Thanks for holding it up, by the way.
Oh, no problem. They're like I said, they're bigger than I thought. Wonder how the rest of them is doing.
I want to try that spell I used to control this thing earlier. What was the words I used? You can move on to the other group while Roland thinks about it. When you come back to us, I'm going to go ahead and try it.
All right. I am willing to make concessions, I will tell you that, so don't be discouraged.
Okay.
We will now, well, that's why I have adversity. I can, bargain with you. And I can also bargain with resolve. I say, yeah, but I'll give you this if you give me that. All right, so let's cut over to, there are 8 troopers and 1 commander who have been stripped of their armor and weapons and are now in their sort of these form-fitting body stockings that they wear under all that armor. And we have Ashlyn, Freya, and Lamar there. They are currently being guarded by Astrid, Eric, Brecca, and Vereen, while the rest of the villagers tend to the village and tend to everything that's going on. And there's also this, you begin to realize that there is a column of smoke coming from somewhere out beyond the crop fields where, as they said, they are disposing of all the slain because they don't deserve to be buried. Apparently returning the dead to the earth is a way to thank the earth for the crops it has given to keep people alive, but these guys don't qualify for that honor. And so, Ashlyn, Frey, and Lamar, take it away.
Excuse us.
Oh, go for it.
Your name was Monk, right?
Monk looks at you, grits their teeth, and turns their head away, doesn't even really want to acknowledge you're there.
Are they they're restrained? Are they sitting in chairs, or are they in cells?
They are out in the middle of the village. They've been all sort of bound and are in the center because they don't really have any other place. They're not going to put them in a longhouse, and they're not going to shove them into one of their storerooms. Those are either you're in them, you're in one, and they just don't have enough room.
Okay. Freya, while Ashlyn's talking to him, is going to kneel down in front of him and just kind of put her hand on his shoulder, or his arm, wherever there isn't armor, if he still has armor on, because she wants to try to get a vision while he's distracted.
Are you doing this to the one that the one that Lamar or Ashlyn said was talking to, Monk, or another one?
Yes, the one that she was talking to.
What are you trying to get?
I am trying to figure out exactly how they knew where we were, and or any secondary plans that they might have. that I might be able to like catch a glimpse of in his head.
All right. So first thing, you discover Monk is a she.
Oh, sorry, she.
But then you realize if these are reptiles, they all if they're reptilian, they all kind of look alike. What you get is some Monk also can't cook you. Monk can't kick you away, which she kind of tries to do, and then realizes she's bound. Also, she starts to struggle. Astrid and Eric point some spearheads at her, and she ends up glaring at them, almost daring them to stick her. What you get though is you see one of these, and this is the part actually, because this is sort of from Monk's point of view. You realize exactly how big one, and this is where it triggers the mental label is Master of the World. And if you scroll back up our chat to last session, you see let's see, Lamar put it, Space Yonti images. So you see these snakes with like a humanoid torso, a long neck, and a serpentine head, and you begin to realize they are huge. Because basically, if Monk is like 6'2", well, this thing is just the master is that big in just the torso, and then the body goes on for a couple of links of Monk. You would figure 20, this thing is 20, 25, 30 feet total. They are huge, because you also get the impression there's more than one. So the masters are a they. And the master is talking to one of the commanders and is pointing something out. There's sort of a holographic map behind, and they're indicating, but you can't read any of the symbols. And interesting enough, Monk can't either. But Monk is being told and is given basically coordinates, and the pilots are supposed to put this into the ship, and they're going to go there, and they're being told that they have detected outsiders, and they are in this location, and you're to look for them and bring them back.
When I let go, I'm gonna go over to Ashlyn and take one of her drawing pads out and a pen while she's still talking, and I'm gonna sketch out the symbols that I saw.
Okay. It is a writing system. I mean, whatever the symbols are, they some of them repeat enough so that you realize this is some sort of written language, but you don't know what kind. This could be each symbol could be a sound, a letter. They could be ideograms. It could be something like that, but a syllabus. It's obviously a writing system, but Monk doesn't seem to read, but Monk does seem to understand at least how to do her job. The caste system idea may be very true. Lamar, Ashlyn, while Freya is doing that, like I said, Monk kind of almost spits at your feet and then turns her head and decides she's not talking to you. Now the troopers all look a bit confused and a little lost.
What do you call this? And Lamar's going to pull out Monk's sword. Or what? Like, what do you guys call swords in your language?
The Monk narrows her eyes and looks at you. It is called a sword, mammal outsider.
Now, look, there ain't no reason to be so nasty. We don't mean you any harm. Especially now that you're trussed up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
The masters of the world will find you and destroy you for this affront. This is an insult they will not take lightly.
What
We were
affront is
sent-
that?
Could you repeat that, Ashlyn?
What affront is that?
You have dared fight us.
It wasn't much of a fight, was it?
Well, you sort of attacked us.
We were sent to capture outsiders and bring them back to the center of the world.
Why is that?
It is what the masters asked of us.
What have they done with other outsiders before?
It is not for me to know.
Of course it ain't.
All right, two of you talked at once. Ashlyn, what did you say?
Oh, Ashlyn just sort of sighed and said, of course it ain't.
Okay.
Then I asked, essentially, what do you know? Let's get off of what you don't know, and let's get on to what you do know.
He actually doesn't say anything at that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that I didn't want that to drag on too long. You say that, and she looks at you, and just doesn't say anything.
How did you know where to find us?
One of the troopers actually says, well, no, she says, the masters told us where to find you.
Freya is gonna chime in and say, these masters of the world had a map on a screen that showed them where to look for us. Isn't that right? And I look at Monk.
Monk
kind of recoils. That takes her a bit by surprise. And let's see here. Let me take a look. Let me pull up last session's character sheet because they actually have stats. Let me see here. Obligation, arrogance, and sense of superiority over other well-inhabitants. Okay, yeah.
Freya also says that our friend here isn't very high up on the totem pole either. Our friend here can't read what's on the screen that the master showed them.
Ooh.
Just to kind of irritate them a little bit more.
So Freya, why don't you give me are you trying to, that's not a command, that's more, I mean, that could be charm where you're trying to fast talk him into goofing up, use whichever is better for you, charm or command.
I would much rather use charm.
Okay. Well, I rolled their willpower. Her willpower. Sorry, let me reiterate. If I always say there or they, that's intentional, or I will use that until you determine a gender. So if at some point I never actually say he or she, I mean it. In this case, I got to remember to say she, even though some of you don't quite know it's a she because you can't tell. But I want to be specific.
I got 8 successes on 5 dice.
Good lord.
Crap! Yeah, I got a whopping 3 on 4. So in effect, you beat me by 5. So what information do you want Monk to spill at this point by basically getting them to maybe smart off or snap?
I don't know. I didn't actually think that was going to work. What information do we want?
Now, I may not. I will also note I may not be able to answer some of what you're saying, but I do have a bunch of bullet points here.
Okay, I'm gonna crowdsource this. What do we want to know?
How do things?
What?
How do their things work? Like their guns and their planes or boats or skiffs or whatever
Their
they call.
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How does their technology work?
All right. So, by saying, "Oh, very low on the totem pole," doesn't know how to read. Basically, Monk kind of snarls and snaps. That's when you realize that Freya. You may realize that scaled people are definitely are certainly heavily carnivores. I get a lot of little pointed teeth in those jaws. But she snaps and says, "I do not need to know how to read, but I do know how to use my war gear, and that is enough. I know what the masters of the world tell me, and that is all I need to know."
Ashlyn is going to sort of, I don't know how to describe it, unfocus her hearing so that she can hear what's actually being said when they say masters of the world. And then she's going to see if...
Give me an intellect
do something
roll.
with that, maybe. Let me see what my intellect is. Oh, that's not bad. Let me not throw my dice around.
Now realize also, Ashlyn, you can inadvertently buff everybody by a die if you really, really want without knowing you're doing it. But what'd you get?
I got 5 on 4 dice.
Nice.
Okay.
I got 3 2s and a 6.
Well, just to let you know, by the way, 5 is superhuman. So, first of all, when they say masters of the world, you're pretty positive that is the term that that's pretty much a direct literal translation. If that is what they refer to their upper caste as, which you still don't have a visual because only Freya has actually seen that seems to be both what these troopers call them and what these beings call themselves. So it's not like a nickname. It's not an epithet. It does seem to be almost like a title. And you're getting an impression from the way she says it that both these Gator troopers, which is I'll use the term that gets used in the actual source book, but these soldiers and these masters themselves seem to think that, yeah, we're the masters of the world. You're upstarts. Lamar, you have anything you want to say?
The masters of the universe, so
Masters of the world.
They essentially gave you the keys to this to all your technology. Is that what you're telling me? You guys didn't come up with this yourselves?
There's a pause while she sort of digests that and says, "Our war gear is given to us by the masters."
What do you give in return?
Okay, can you repeat that? Because 2 people talked.
I was asking, and what do you give in return?
We bring them we do for them whatever they ask.
Like, are you forced into this kind of relationship, or do you just do it for the war gear?
It is our duty. This is what we were created for.
They made you?
Freya,
Yes.
you're not actually touching Monk at this time, but there's a flash that you get. I'm just going to give this to you because I think it's a little, but you get a flash of a room filled with vertical clear tubes, and those tubes are filled with some sort of liquid, and within those tubes are figures, like vaguely humanoid-ish figures and such. And it's just a quick flash when we were made. We do what we were made to do. When Monk says that effectively.
Why? What's with the people in the tubes? Freya just kind of blurts out without thinking.
Tube people? Like
Are
what?
you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
We're not just going to skip past that. What? People in tubes? Like
We
what?
can talk about it later.
Can I try something that I don't actually know that I can do?
What do you want to do?
I want to touch Ashlyn's arm, and I want to say, I just kind of want to whisper, trust me, and I want to try to project those images into, like, what I saw. I want to try to project it into her brain so that she can see what I saw.
Right. What you're doing, actually, and you have a crap ton of resolve. So psychometry is 9 points. It's one reason why it's one reason why, I spent all your points on precog and psychometry, basically. But if you stunt that, you effectively have 9 points to spend on something else. And what you could do, and this is just an explanation for going forward, so I'm not trying to slow the game down or whatever, but if you take a look at telepathy, you could spend some dice to, you could just buy 9 dice of telepathy by spending a resolve and use that to put those images in Ashlyn's head.
Would I still have psychometry? It just wouldn't be as strong?
Yeah, you're basically briefly using that. You're basically briefly using that power. Instead of pull images from something you touch, you're projecting those images into something you touch, which in this case is Ashlyn.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Can I do that?
Yes, you just have to spend a resolve.
Okay, yeah, done.
And now, by the way, another quick note, if you were at 8 resolve and I gave you 2 resolve in the course of play, you don't actually have those, you're at 8.
Okay.
So you guys do max at 8. But in this case, you have a ton of resolve, you spend 1. So Ashlyn, you get the vision of the tubes or the vision of the Master of the World or all of that?
I would like to give her all of it. Just like
all right.
Back to back, like
so,
frames.
Ashlyn, Freya touches you, and all of a sudden, this rush of imagery fills your head, sort of like if you had smelled something familiar and then opened up a memory from long ago. You see, as has been described, I think some of the stuff from last session possibly too, but at least what was described here, you see what one of these Masters of the World look like. This immense Naga-like, Yanti-like, serpent-like being. You see other commanders, and you since have a sense of scale because you're standing next to one. You get an idea how big they are. You also get a flash of this high-tech environment. It's all white and chrome and silver and blue lights and white light and blue glowing energy tubes or conduits. Super advanced looking thing. Looks kind of, you're not sure slightly if it matches these masters. Like, you're not sure, but it doesn't, it's a brief flash, and you also see like the armor and the gear and the vehicles and these troopers, and then all these tubes that have things that you think are growing in them. And we're gonna, I realize now we're gonna cut back. We'll let you cogitate on that for a moment. And Lamar, I'm going to say you see Freya touch Ashlyn, and Ashlyn all of a sudden is not looking at anything. She's got this expression on her face like she's watching a movie nobody else can see. And then, so leaving that, we're going to go back to Carlos and Roland, and you had an idea. You two had an idea.
All right. So yesterday this morning, I got one of these things to move. It was powered on, but I want to try it again. So Roland's going to climb up on one of the pilot chairs. You might want to get up here just in case, Edgar.
Yep, going up there. Edgar will join him.
All right, so he's going to crack his neck, crack his knuckles. There doesn't appear to be a steering stick on this, right?
No. So here's an interesting thing. When you look at the control panels, or what would be the control panel, remember the pyramid that you guys went into that had those black glass? It's the exact same look. This Star Trek Next Generation. It's just these smooth black glass that you knew had glowing symbols and lights and things, and now is just black glass. So no, there's no steering wheel.
All right. So what I'm planning on doing here is he used a quote during the fight. He's going to do it again because he's standing on the machine that he controlled. So he's like, let's see if this works. And I'm going to use Omnipower to mimic control machine. And he's going to say, mind if I test drive your Audi? And then he's going to place both hands on the panel.
Actually, you know what? This is not, in this case, I am not rolling the body of the vehicle. I have a target number in mind, so just roll your dice.
I have to double check and see how many dice I can get out of control machine. There's machine control. It's 1, so I can get 7 dice.
I'd give you a bonus die if that was your activation phrase.
I mean, that's essentially the phrase I'm going to use every time I try to use control machine.
Lethal weapon, right?
Correct.
Now
I got 6 successes.
All right, my target number was 5. Yeah, by the way, I'll give a resolve. Anybody knows where that quote is, what movie that quote is from?
Which one? The one I used?
No, the one I used.
Oh.
I didn't. Which quote did you use?
He said, "You mind if I test drive your Audi?"
Yeah.
Which I don't know what movie that's from. So
Lethal Weapon.
It's been a very long time since I've seen the original Lethal Weapon. So, all right.
I know that quote, but I don't remember what movie it's from. I remember hearing that quote because I have the cadence in my head.
I'm a rocker. I'm a roller. I'm an out of controller. Yeah, it's Mad Max, the original Mad Max.
I was getting ready to say that. Yeah.
I was like, I know the cadence for that.
It is from the opening sequence, which I will say is, to be quite honest, is one of the best chase scenes ever.
It is.
All right, so success with a complication. I'm going to make a bargain with you, Roland, because it will it'll be just useful in the long term for the story. You spend some time. Now, this is not an instant power, even though you only made the 1 die roll. You spend some time. Edgar, you watch as he puts his hands out. He says, "You mind if I test drive your Audi?" And if there's a visual effect of your powers activating, what there is, and you see the whole control panel light up, and you don't recognize the symbols. Now, if Freya was there, she'd be like, "Those are the same symbols I saw on the map." But it lights up, and he kind of moves his hands, and you can see things go. There's a blue glow around the vehicle. It lifts up a few feet off the ground, and it stays and hovers. And it doesn't really make much noise. There's a little bit of a hum. There's a faint vibration. There's no exhaust. It seems to be moving just fine. Roland, I am willing to give the party a somewhat working sky raft. I will give you stats for it. in a moment, but it has a bit of a complication, and I will actually spend an adversity to to inflict a misfortune, and I'm air quoting. If you give me a quick moment, I'm going to give you. Do I have that? Yes, I do. So I'm going to drop some information into the chat, but you may. So, and I'm going to put a caveat here. All right. So it has those stats. It has 8 body, which is how much it can lift and how tough it is and how much health it has. But it only has a speed of 4, so it moves at a whopping 25 miles an hour.
I mean, that's faster than we do.
Faster than you do.
It has +4 control, which means whenever I ask you to make a roll, you driving this vehicle, you take your transport and add 4 dice. It has fantastic control because basically it can almost stop on a dime. It can rotate. It doesn't really need to bank. It can rotate on its basically around like a central post.
So it can rotate on its axis. Nice.
It can rotate on its axis. It's like a hovercraft. It's a hovercraft or a helicopter. It has a comm system which kind of doesn't work. Its flight is hover. It has an open cockpit, which is why you were able to fight the guys in it. And it can take up to like 12 people, or the 5 of you and a lot of cargo. But one person has to pilot, which it is going to be you. You are the pilot. That's the other caveat. It doesn't work for anybody but you because you're the one who put the spell on it. I'm also going to ask you to spend a resolve to make this a permanent effect.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't have any weaponry either. You can't push a button and blow up whatever you see.
Right. So as soon as Roland gets it moving, he's going to be like, yelling really loud, "I did! It's mine!"
So we're going to cut over to the troopers because Ashlyn is looking at nothing, and Monk looks beyond Ashlyn and it goes like you can see the scales in her face flush. And she shrieks out, "Impossible! Mammals cannot do this!" And if you look to see what she's looking at, except for Ashlyn is still processing all those visions, and maybe Freya. So Lamar, if you look, you can see one of these vehicles hovering along, and you can see Roland just like cheering and waving his arms and looking totally, completely pleased. And what is it? What is the term? Happy as a pig in a poke, or something like that. And the other troopers have like this, look completely, that's impossible type expression. And she is just losing her mind at the fact that this vehicle is moving and you're on it, both of you.
I think now we can tow the other ship.
We probably can. If I can get it to power on, we definitely can.
If I'm awake, I can stick a sled on it.
Hey,
one way or another.
I gotta wonder. I wonder. I'll have to try it later. I'm gonna park the vehicle.
Now they'll really be surprised in Ashcam.
Yeah. Well, now we have a Sky People vehicle, and they might think we're Sky People, and that's not going to be great.
Hey, good point. Maybe we park outside the city.
Well, yeah, definitely going to do that. But I feel like if we take Ashcam's probably a better place for us to camp out, and if we can retrofit this so it looks different, we could probably hover low instead of high along the road, so we don't look like Sky People. Also, we probably want to make sure there's at least some kind of armor so we can't be attacked as easily.
So do you know how to run this now? You can turn it off, turn it on.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I can't read the text. That'll take time. I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. But when I'm standing here and put my hands here and here, it responds to what I want. So it's almost like, I'm going to say it's almost like I put an enchantment on it. And the enchantment makes the vehicle work.
Magic. All right.
Yeah.
You got it.
That's the closest thing I've got.
Okay, so let's go back to the other three. Ashlyn, you've recovered from your vision, and you realize that Monk is sort of yelling, and the three of you at this point can see. You can see Roland and Edgar in the bridge of one of these vehicles, and Edgar is sort of cheering and talking, and it's moving slowly around, and basically the entire village is staring at this and kind of oohing and awing at the incredible abilities of at least Roland the Wonder Worker.
Ashlyn is pulling out her like immediately as soon as she recovers, is pulling out one of her digital sketch pad. And she's going to try and sketch one of the map that she remembers, because it was showing the map about where they were. I want to recreate that map as best I can.
That's probably good, because Freya's not artistic, so like her sketches of the symbols that she saw are really bad. So what is this one yelling about? And she kind of looks at Lamar, pointing down at Monk. What is going on?
It looks like the nerds got the raft up and running. Fantastic.
You're kidding.
Look at it. He points. Look at him go.
Roland is like, and then puts his hands back down immediately.
Yeah, because you do this, and the vehicle kind of goes blumph, and then you put your hands down and it lifts up.
We are never going to hear the end of this.
Well, at least that's why we don't have to walk everywhere. It's a win in my book.
I would almost rather walk than listen to Roland so excited that he used his magic to get this thing to work.
I mean, I got earbuds you can use if you don't want to listen.
Yeah, but then what are you going to use? I don't want to give you the headache.
I mean, I got extra.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, your mom bag.
She's pretty much a Beats factory or a warehouse at least, right? You can just keep pulling earbuds right out of that place.
Oh, they're not Beats. Raycon's better.
That works too.
Hashtag not sponsored. Although if you want to pay me.
Ashlyn, do you have any more questions for Monk?
Not that she'd be able to answer.
Do you have anything you're going to say to the troopers, or you're done with this interrogation?
After that experience, Ashlyn her mind is running away with all kinds of different theories that will not be able to confirm at all with any of the people here.
Okay. Lamar, anything you're doing in specific here?
It doesn't seem like they're going to be apt to just talking to us outright, and I part of me wants to get all like medieval and like doing that whole like chopping one of them down, getting all Negan on them. That's like a bad thing to do. So yeah, no, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Freya?
No, I don't think there's anything else of use that Freya would be able to get from any of them that would help more than what
Maybe
she's
you
got.
get something different from one of the normal troopers.
I can try that. Yeah, I'll go up to one of the normal troopers and lay my hand on them and see what I can see.
All right, well, first thing you get is a name.
Okay.
And this one's name is Chook.
Can you spell that for me?
Yep, I'm going to put it in the chat.
Thank you.
And this one's name is Chook.
Thank you.
All right. And this one's name is Chook.
Thank you.
I will let you know that Jennifer Scheinfeld is now grinning, even though she doesn't know why. What are you trying to get? What sort of information are you trying to get?
I think for one of the troopers, I think I kind of want to see more of the what is the word I'm looking for? I guess how the orders come down, and like who was it? Monk that ordered these troopers to get together? Was it somebody else? Anything that I can see as far as like how they, maybe how much information they're given. Like, do they know specifically who they are after or why they are after them? Anything like that, I think. Unless somebody else has a better idea.
Right. So, well, what you get is a lot of visual impressions when you use psychometry. You do actually. It says you need to spend a resolve. You can ask for in-depth information about a specific person or event connected to the object. So you can do that. In this case, what you're doing is you're gaining psychic impressions and information from physical objects. It says you can ask GMs about the basic history of any inanimate object. I'm being a little flexible on this just because I think it for rule of cool and storytelling. So just be aware that when things get really specific. But in this case, what you get is a visual, once again, that same architecture, but what is obviously a barracks with like racks of sort of a super advanced bunk beds. It's the best way to describe it. There's sort of arrayed on the walls, and they're almost little like coffin hotels. If you ever seen what one of those looks like. Mm-hmm. So they're sort of stacked, and the troopers are being. Chuk is coming out. You see Monk there, sort of. Commanding and setting a unit together, so you see about a dozen of them. They're being issued equipment and such. They're being told what they're looking for. This is apparently a search and grab mission for outsiders. They're not certain what they, you'll know them when you see them type deal. They will almost certainly not look like a native people. You get an impression of hangars. With many vehicles, some way bigger than the one that Roland is currently carting around on, but the same general design, just very similar in appearance, but of different sizes, and some of them much larger and bulkier. They're loading onto one of these things, and it lifts off way higher than Roland is able to get his, and it moves at an extremely high rate of speed. Interestingly enough, when they leave, you get a view of this column in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's nothing around it. There's just this huge shaft of what looks like stone that has maybe doorways or hatches, and you have no sense of scale other than the impression is that there's water a great distance below you, and then the vehicle is moving at an extremely high rate of speed, but there's no sense of wind, like maybe there's a force field or something around it. And all of this, none of this is treated with any sort of sense of wonder. This is all very routine. That's the impression, the emotional state you get, and then those visions disappear.
Okay. Do I get a sense of how many of them there may be?
Like total?
Yeah, like, I mean, is it like a huge race of people, or is it a smaller race of people?
You see, well, first of all, you see two types of people. You see very small, you've seen only a few of these masters, but you see lots being hundreds, thousands, certainly, quite a few. They could probably, I mean, if those vehicles are any indication, they could develop some pretty large attack forces if they really want. But you're not certain if it's how many there actually are. But at least the impression you got was quite a few troopers, hundreds at least.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Mm-hmm. At about this point, then, I'm gonna say, let's get you guys back together to make some decisions now that you have a ton of information and some options. So let's say you've parked. Let's advance the timeline a little bit. What are you gonna do with the other one? Just drag it away and leave it somewhere?
Well, we might be able to, if Edgar can hold it up long enough, we might be able to tow it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that we could tow it and drag, we can, I don't know what we're going to do with it ultimately, but we definitely want to move it away from the city, no matter what.
Right.
So,
well, that's my question.
Yeah.
Do you tow it somewhere and just dump it to get it? Because I will say this, you can't get it working. I'm going to spend another adversity on a act of villainy. It is pretty much not working.
do we want to destroy it, or what do we want to do with it?
I mean, if we can drag it with us at least for a while, I want to drag it somewhere far away from Ashcam at least.
Yeah.
And then dump it. But worst case, some of the parts might still be usable in case we have to make repairs. But other than that, I say we dump it somewhere far away.
Like repairs? I mean, I guess it would just be cosmetic, right? It's not like you're actually using its propulsion to fly the thing, right?
No, the one that I'm using, yeah, no, that one is like straight up. I'm turning the machine on.
Oh, you're turning the machine on and it works? Okay,
yeah. Okay, so the best way I can say it is I hacked it and put a backdoor on it, and my hands make it turn on.
Can you do something similar, but like code my hands to be on the other one?
That one's busted. Like, I can't even detect the power source.
Okay.
So the one
like biodiesel?
I have no idea. I don't know what it does. I just know that when I put my hands on it, the machine turns on.
Alrighty.
This one doesn't have. It's like when I put my hands on it. You ever like? Have you ever put your hands on like a water hose while it's running? You can feel the water rushing through the hose. So, like, that's kind of what I get for the one that works. When I put my hands on it, I can feel the energy in the machine. The other one is just dead.
Where's the bathroom in this place? Do you know?
In the hovercraft?
Yeah, is there a bathroom in this place?
You can see everything that. Can you see it? This thing is just a platform. There's no back. There's no doors. There's no windows. It's the platform.
Oh, it's just off the edge. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Also, since I can control it, I'm gonna just start calling it the skiff.
Sure.
How talking to the
what you may want to do, Roland, is copy what I put up there and add it to your character sheet. And
already did
the skiff. Okay,
that's what I did.
Yep.
How did talking to the go?
I can quote Lord of the Rings too. Well, sort of. All right. So I'm gonna let's say this. You guys do, the two of you, haul the old one away, the one non-working one away using a mixture of your powers. Now, Roland, I'm going to be very nice. You do not need to use your Omni power to run the ship. You can touch it and it'll work. But it has all the other things I said. It doesn't go it only hovers a few feet off the ground. It only has a speed of 4D. Your comm system doesn't really work. But other than that, and you have to have your hands on it to make it work. So you've sort of locked it to you. But between you piloting the skiff and Edgar sort of towing the other one, you can drag the non-working one and dump it somewhere far away from Fearcat and then come back.
Well, I'm thinking we could use that to drag the prisoners first before we dump it. Because, we can load them up on the other one with, some guards, drag them over, and then on our way as we leave Ashcam, we can dump it somewhere.
I like that idea. That's actually a brilliant idea.
So
do we want to cut to the chase, no pun intended, and start with what happens tomorrow, or do you guys have more that you need to do now?
I'm pretty sure that Edgar wanted to hear what they discovered.
I had one question for what they discovered about the people, and that is, did you all find out what would happen to them, like, if they escaped? Like, are the people who ran off going to be, like, welcomed back with open arms, or are they, like, going to come back, or are they going to be killed if they return because they lost to Outworlders? Like, what happens to them?
Did I get any sense of the answer to that question in any of my visions? Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I get the feeling that they're pretty expendable, but I don't know if these masters would bother killing something that could still be useful. I don't know, though.
I don't know. They also kind of feel like failure is not an option because there are a lot of them. So they
can always ask.
But will they really tell us the truth?
So that was the question. Maybe we can ask them on the way. But yeah, I'm ready to. I think we're ready to go. I think we have a plan. We got some transport. I think we're good. Just got to say goodbye to everybody. Oh, I do have one thing. Roland, can your magic do anything about Herger? That's a question, because he hasn't woken up yet.
Magic can do everything, can't it?
Not right now. So it's hard to say. Like, when I went to go do the thing with the healing earlier, like, I had this picture in my head that I had, like, a bottle that was full of liquid, and all of the healing I did kind of, like, drained the bottle, and right now the bottle's empty.
Gee, imagine that.
Maybe
has rules, just like
maybe it'll recharge, but at least as of right now, I'm tapped out.
All right, let's get you some drinks, and then we'll check again later. Then.
I have a new theory about what this world might be.
What's that?
Artificial.
I think so. I given the races that are so specific coming from other places, given the environment doesn't change except by location rather than by, like, seasons, given I think there's definitely some kind of artificial aspect to it, because that's not the way. I mean, it could be magic, but I think it's not great or necessarily ideal to attribute magic to everything, right? Necessarily, magic is great, but I don't know that the world is just magic.
I don't think so. Given the technology that these troopers had, and that I hate calling them masters, but it's a literal translation as far as I can tell. But they ain't the ones that built this place if it was built, because their technology don't seem to fit them. So I'm thinking, I don't know why, or when, or how, or anything, or where for that matter.
Well, I have a theory.
I'm sure you do.
This may be one of the reasons why they're hunting us. If this is an artificial world, as you suggest, whatever it is that's holding it together, we came through it. That's how we got here. It may be the act of coming through that, whatever it is that is essentially the border, the veil between worlds, to use a term that you may probably have heard, may have empowered us to be something beyond what we were. So the reason they're hunting us down is because they want to understand that this might have been their world before everything else happened. That
is a lot of conjecture, and you got nothing to back up any of them.
I'm I said it was a theory.
I mean,
Well, theories have to have something back in them.
there are people
you
in
couldn't
tubes.
make a theory out of thin air.
There are people in tubes. Maybe they're somehow, I don't know if this is magic. Maybe they're somehow powering something, or
I didn't get that feeling. I think what's happening is that they're growing them troopers.
that could be it.
Like in Star Wars?
And that's why when
But they looked more
Monk
human.
said that's what they were built for, made for.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I mean, they have a general humanoid shape, right?
Well, that is true. And we didn't see the final product. We just saw them in the tube, so.
And so we've got. I'm looking back at my journal from the first time that we got here. I think you're right. Right, there's a sun. There's no stars. There's no other celestial bodies. It's hard to say if the sun is actually a sun or some kind of light source. It's really regular. Like it doesn't have seasons. It doesn't have, as far as we can tell, time changes. It's very numeric as far as the seasons, the hands, the terms that they use. The fact that we can understand every language is kind of weird. That we're not speaking the same language, so we can understand each other. But that seems intentional, right? That does seem like there's some kind of intent behind that. So that all of these groups coming to this place, whether that's intentional or not, that's still a question. But that is super interesting. I did have one more question for the Sky people. What do they do with the people that they take when they took the village? What did they do with those people?
I will give you this. I will give you this because you can sort of go and ask or get that from either Chook or Monk. They hand anybody they capture, which includes people like normal natives and outsiders, are handed over to the masters of the world.
And then never seen again?
And you know what? This is exactly what I wrote. The masters take what they find, and they are never seen again.
That's interesting. But yeah, so I think you were totally right about that conjecture. I think this is artificial. I don't know if the masters of the world are the masters of the world, but
they definitely consider themselves to be, and whatever's translating this seems to consider them to be as well, whether that be magic or some really advanced technology.
Yeah.
But they're not the ones that made it. They probably weren't the original masters, as it were. I don't know. This is all actually rather academic at the moment. It don't help us.
Fine. You're right. So I guess let's get some sleep and then we'll head out in the morning. Maybe see if your bottle is filled again.
Yeah, we'll see.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Roland, you don't do anything with your omni power before going to sleep or while asleep, do you?
Other than making sure that if we had a barrier around the prisoners, that it's gonna stay up for the rest of the night. But other than that, no.
Okay. Just checking. I just realized that your resident super wizard having a nightmare could be, our weird dreams could lead to all sorts of nonsense. All right. I hate to do this. I'm only going to ask if you just I really need something to drink. I'm going to be right back. Hey, welcome back, everybody. All right. I'm not trying to rush things. So obviously when you guys get into conversations, I'm willing to let them go. But I think we have a plan. I'm going to see if everybody's okay with the plan and we'll move forward with it. So I understand it. You were going to take, Roland is going to pilot his, what do you call it? The skiff.
The skiff.
Roland is going to pilot the skiff. You were going to tow, using Edgar's abilities, the other one. And the prisoners are going to go on that, guarded by Astrid and Eric. Breck and Vereen kind of want to come with you, but they see the village. They need to stay with the village. So it's really going to be. On the other hand, Astrid and Eric have sort of stated they're going to recommend. They're going to mention the valor of the entire village to the Jarl. So they're kind of good with that. Oh wait. Most important thing: does your potion bottle refill the next morning? There, Roland.
It depends on when the rules say I actually get my healing back. So let me double check.
I'm looking myself.
It doesn't say.
It says per day.
Per day.
So basically, yeah. It says your power rank equals the maximum points of damage you can heal per day.
Yep. So yeah, he would definitely be like, the bottle, the metaphysical bottle is definitely full.
All right, so you were able to get him to regain consciousness. He's still going to basically need some bed rest and recovery, but he is it's no longer the frightening he won't wake up piece, type deal that had his wife and daughter kind of scared all this time. And yes, Roland, when you wake up and think about it, that visual you had of a bottle or of fluid or a potion bottle or such is refilled. It's no longer empty.
You're muted.
So how many D4 does your healing potion heal again?
It heals 1 hit point per point I have, and I have up to 7 per day.
So he can heal up to 7 health of damage, and that's 7 total. It's not 7 per any one person. So it's 7 points of health damage per day at the moment.
Gotcha.
All right, so
I know exactly what he says too when he does that. Since he's like asleep, he's gonna say, "Wake up and smell the desperation."
Okay. Well, at least you're not quoting Leon from Blade Runner.
Nope.
Well, you get hugs from his wife and daughter. He gives you a very weak grin and a good handshake. He's got a lot of bruising around the head. Something hit him in the head, which clubbed him into the ground, and they were able to very carefully take him to his bed in the carpentry area. But he is, at least, he's lucid. He can talk. He just has a massive headache and doesn't want to get up right now. So you get Chuk and Munk and the other captured troopers, into the one otherwise non-working sky raft, which is what Edgar is able to lift with his construct powers. You are able to pilot yours and tow it along. It moves at a very slow pace. It moves at better than a walking pace. It's moving at 25 miles an hour, which is way faster than a walking pace, which is like 2 to 3 miles an hour. So the good point is, you guys can ride and rest. You're not going anywhere particularly fast, but you are able to carry all sorts of stuff. So the rest of you can ride, and if you really want, you can squeeze in next to Roland up on the bridge. You can actually hold about 2 people, maybe 3 if they get really close to each other. But the actual passenger deck can easily hold 10 to 12 people. And since there's only 5 of you, 4 of you have lots of room on Roland's skiff. It takes about an hour to get to Ashcam at the rate you're going. Eric and Astrid think this is amazing. It's moving faster. You're moving at the rate of a horse at full gallop. The difference is the horse gets tired, and this thing just keeps trucking along. And eventually you reach Ashcam, and there are some guards who are very surprised to see. There's some Huskarls that are very surprised to see you. They don't immediately associate what they see with a sky vehicle, mainly because they're seeing it like a few feet off the ground and not from below in the air. But they are somewhat confused by this strange wagon that doesn't have wheels and just hovers off the ground. Now they see you. They may not know much about you particularly because you guys really didn't have superpowers last time you were in town. But Eric and Astrid are able to explain that you are a wonder worker, and this is your contrivance, your wagon, and as is that one. And you have brought prizes and prisoners to the Jarl. And once you get into the center of town, what do you all do?
Oh, I'm going to straight to the Jarl's place.
Are we leaving the ship outside, or are we bringing them inside?
Are they going to fit through the gates? Is my question.
Yes, the vehicles will fit to the gates. They are. They are like 25, 30 feet long. They're maybe 10 feet wide. They kind of have a boat hull type dimensions, and the gates are probably 20 feet wide. They can easily pass wagons going in either direction, so you can get these sky rafts or skiffs through the gates without much issue.
Are they going to be able to travel through the streets?
Yes, because you can have to go single file. The streets are wider than 10 feet. So it's not, I mean, you have to go slow. You have to go, obviously, single file because you're towing the other one. But there is at least basically the central major roads are designed for wagons and probably livestock and stuff to come through. So you can't go off the primary roads or streets, which there's only like 2 or 3. You know, I mean, it's not the secondary ones, because of the way things are grouped, are a little much tighter. But the central, basically crossing roads, because remember, it's 2 broad roads, and then there's 16 of these long houses in groups of 4, and then there's more buildings sort of in the back, and then there's a market area where the Great Trade Road ends at Ashcam. That's got a big open area, so you can put them there. There's no cover you can put them under. There's no, I mean, the barn, they might fit in a barn, but getting them through the doors is going to be a different matter, and a lot of that is kind of full or has stuff in it. So you're kind of stuck leaving them out in the open.
That's fine. My question then becomes, is it possible to get them close to, so we don't have to parade the prisoners through the city, is it possible to get them close to the Jarls?
You can get them reasonably close. Large wagons and such regularly stop out in front of the Jarl's Hall, so there is some space there, and it fronts out onto the big marketplace area. So yeah, you can bring them over there, so you don't have to haul these captured troopers through the town, through too much of the town.
Works for me. And then if we can just park them off to one side somewhere.
So you do attract a crowd. There are quite a few people who have come out, some of whom you recognize from your previous visit. Others, of course, you don't, but it's a pretty big town. And you end up with sort of a semicircle, and then a number of Huskarls who are sort of forming a bit of a guard so nobody gets too close to this whatever it is, and all these captured troopers that you bring out. Eric, being who he is, sort of announces loudly once you get in front who you are. So he sort of announces that Roland, actually he announces all your names. And he announces that you are the heroes of Faircat, having defeated a raid by the Sky People, who then get trotted out in front before all of you, and you guys will follow up behind them. You're not sure you wanted him to do that, but he kind of makes that announcement, and that they are presenting the spoils of this battle to the Jarl, and they start gathering up some of the war gear and everything that you've captured.
And we had intended to give the Jarl gifts, so I think it's fair to say basically we've separated out the stuff we were going to give to what we were going to keep, and yeah. All right.
Yeah, Roland is of the opinion that we could that the group could probably salvage the armor and use some of it. So he's kept at least one suit for everybody, probably a couple of extras in case he makes a mistake.
The Jarl's Hall is as it was before. The difference is, though, there's a lot more Huskarls in here, and there isn't really much anybody else. And he kind of shows up. He sort of, you got to have a feeling that he was off doing something else, and then it was like, no, we all need to be in the hall now to look what's coming through the gates. So he is there. His daughter is there. And there's a large number of Huskarls all sort of lined up as you come into the hall. And he's seated there in his chair. The tables have all been cleared out. They're all sort of broken down. They're sort of, basically, they can be disassembled, and they're lining the walls at the moment. So you've got a large open space. You've got a couple of fire pits and the pillars that hold the roof up and such like that. And Astrid and Eric are out in front. And they come in, and Eric presents himself. And he states, Jarl Thorkel, you asked us to accompany these. And he pauses for a minute. I would say these friends of the Jarl now, for they did fight on your behalf, whether they knew it or not. But we accompanied them, and we drove off giant people who were nesting near Fearcat. And then on the eve of our victory, preparing perhaps to celebrate the next day, we were attacked by a force of what we presume are the fabled sky people. And I think we would have been lost if it was not for these 5, for all of them are wonder workers of some sort, casting about great spells and powers and skill with weapons. And they have captured, and he points, these individuals who bear armor and weapons unlike any we have ever seen. And if you come outside, you will see their wagons, which have no wheels. And I do believe that this one, and he points at you, Lamar, has earned the coat that you promised him. For we saw him fight with skill that I would not have expected.
I mean, I keep trying to tell everybody. Just as he bows.
Thorkel looks at all of you and says, is this true? And it doesn't sound like he's second guessing, but it more sounds like he's looking for the story in your words.
Yes, this is true. See, at first, what had happened was, and then he does like the Ant-Man, like the Ant-Man, van guy interpretation of what happened. And then and then we did this, and then they came in out the sky, and then it was like ping, boom, 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 and then I was like, aha. And then magic blew up out of nowhere, and then fires, and yeah.
It was sort of our fault they were there to begin with, though.
What do you mean?
They were looking for us. So it's only right that we drive them out. Something about us being outsiders.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's why we are planning to make our way to the city of... Damn it, this is me forgetting again. Is it Metal and Stone?
Steel and Stone or something?
Stone and Steel. That's why we're planning on heading to the city of Stone and Steel and sort of away from your people so we don't endanger them. No.
That is a noble sentiment. I am sorry to hear that you are leaving, but I understand why. I thank you for what you have done. I think that Eric was correct. If you had not been there, Firkat would have gone the way of Herat, and it would have vanished in the night. We had never known what happened to its people. I will give you, Lamar, the coat that you ask. I think we have some in your size. I will see if there's any supplies that we can give you. For I know the trip, from what the merchants and traders say, is many hands of days to sunward. And I think that is the least I can do. What do you require of me?
Food. Yeah, we could totally use some food, right? He's just looking around. Like, what else do we need?
That would be very good start for food, and I'm not sure what we'd be looking at on fresh water on the way. If you have any or know where we could get any maps of the area, if that exists, or speak
Perhaps.
to anyone who's been down that way frequently.
The only other thing I could suggest is if you have allies along the path, perhaps a letter of introduction.
I can get water skins. I can get food, dried foods especially. I do not think we have a map, at least of anything beyond the villages around Ashcam. He will eventually actually show you a map, and it's really basic.
How does it compare to the map that Ashlyn made after the vision?
Yeah. It does not. You really can't correlate the map,
wow.
and you're not certain. You're not certain the symbols that were on the wall. You're not certain. You upon reflection, you begin to wonder if they were showing any of the villages here or the other objects.
Well, I can at least reference from Fearcat, because that's where they found us. That's where I guess I'm just assuming that that's the same spot that was marked on the map as.
Did you share that?
Monk was giving her instructions.
Did you share that?
Okay. Yes. Give me an intelligence roll.
Yes.
And I have one question about if you see on the map, if they don't have the villages, do they have that weird obelisk thing that we stayed at on the map?
More importantly, do they keep their beer cold?
Mm.
I'm gonna spend a resolve to read that. I got 0 successes. It was all odds. Oh my sweet baby Jesus! I got 2 that time at least.
You're not sure about the map that you are remembering from the vision, and it certainly does not relate to the map that he shows you. His is more base. It's more of like, these are the villages, these are the names, and this is what is notable about it. Edgar, there are some landmarks that you notice. One of which is. There's like a couple of things, and you have to have the text interpreted, but there is like a couple of ruins and other structures, and these are notable landmarks for travelers. They're not, because some of them are very out of the way, they're just noted from like what hunters and things have said, like the plaza with the pyramids. They're not given special importance, mainly because they're not near anything, but they're sort of aware of it. It's like a day's travel away, and hunters who go out for some time are aware of it, and so they know it exists. He's never seen it; he's just heard about it. And there's some other objects like ruined structures that are noted on this map.
My question was kind of more: can Ashlyn correlate that plaza on the vision map, on the map from the vision?
because that's a wonderful idea, and that was actually what I was asking her to roll for, you eventually begin to realize that you're positive one of the symbols on her vision map was that plaza.
Ooh, good place to start.
So water skins, some barrels for water. You are told that there's basically there's lots of streams and things. You are informed, you have not been told before, to keep a lookout for the water people. If you see them in a body of water, that means it is water where it's safe to basically swim and bathe and wash clothing and drink from, because it doesn't have any really major predators. And then they ask about, and you're like, what do you mean? Like, what kind of predators? Basically, like really big fish, like, and their definition of big fish, you hold their hands out like this far. But there's also stories of stuff that lives in really deep lakes and things that'll pull people down and they'll never be seen again, type deal. I think actually Roland may be like, yeah, every lake has those legends, because I know all that stuff. The lakes are bottomless. Yeah, the lakes are bottomless. The lakes never give up their dead, and there's objects that drift against the wind and current, always seen out in the middle of the lake. It's pretty. Those are some pretty universal lake myths that you know of, at least from Earth.
Do they have refrigeration, by the way, at all?
No, they don't. But if you were reminded that no, we don't. Other than things like occasionally taking the snow that falls and packing it and putting it underground where it'll keep things cool until it kind of melts. If you're looking for something like that, you are reminded or told, I don't know whether you ever heard at Lamar, that there is a mead hall about a hand a day's travel to Sunset that apparently serves drinks that are as cold as the snow that sometimes falls.
I'm gonna try to teach them how to make lawn fridges real quick. All you gotta do is just dig a cylindrical hole deep into straight down, and you just feed bottles down there with ropes. And they'll keep it cool till you pull it back up.
They do have something like that. They the cellars and things where they keep things cool, but I mean a really deep shaft that may be a little bit, it's slightly new. They understand that if you put stuff in the cellar, it's cooler. What do you call that? A lawn fridge?
I mean, yeah, you could just get that on Amazon right now. All it is like a PVC pipe. You just dig holes into your lawn, and then it just uses, how the ground is cold because it doesn't get heated up by the sun. You just stick it down there, and then you just pull it up, and you can just pull out a cold beer. Cold lawn fridges.
The one problem with that is, considering the number of casks that are in the mead hall, it's that he's not sure how he's going to make that work. He's considering maybe extending his cellar. So if you present like the various weapons, especially the knives and swords, Thorkel marvels over their construction. The steel is finer than anything he's ever seen. He thinks it's this is the kind of steel rumored to be made by the mining people, as they trade foodstuffs for ore from. The armor, he's marvels at its lightness and its strength. And yes, a helmet is eventually placed in the hall. There's sort of some of the gear is placed in the hall as a prize from the battle. Anything else?
Would he be able to get us, even if we have to go to the scribe to get it, something that shows like that we are friends of the Jarl as a letter of introduction? That way, if we go to a place, we at least are like, look, this guy likes us.
Yes, a literal passport, or at least a literal message of introduction is written out and prepared. Now, the scribe does note that he's not sure, how far this will take you or whether others will even recognize this, but he will do what he can. And basically it reads, the bearer of this note is a friend of Jarl Thorkel and should be extended courtesies and such as you might extend a emissary of the Jarl. It's effectively is what it says.
It probably won't take us but more than a couple of different towns down the way out of his territory, but anything helps. And if we happen to go to the land of the two queens, he's, as far as we know, he's got a good relationship with them, so this will help.
Okay. Yeah, that would work.
How long is it going to take for them to get Lamar fitted?
Probably a day or actually, here's the important part. Because I want to get that out of the way. So you bring in your prisoners, and there's Eric and Astrid sort of explain who they are and what they, how they were captured. Interestingly enough, the fact that they're scaled people doesn't seem to really be a big deal. It's the fact that they came in these weird flying vessels with this armor and they tried to attack us in the middle of the night. That's the big deal. They find it interesting that the Sky People, if these are Sky People, are not what they thought or what they maybe imagined. They seem kind of mundane. In other words, they kind of look like one of the merchants that regularly stops by. But Thorkel considers what you have said and what Eric and Astrid says, and he thinks for a moment and then looks at them and speaks. Normally, those who try to take from us, be it me or this town, or the villages around this town, by force, are punished appropriately. And that usually means that they are executed. For we have no use for thieves, bandits. As I understand it, these Sky People attempted to take you away, and perhaps other of my village, and deprive us of people who were of use to this community. So I think their punishment, their sentence, will be to provide in exchange for what they tried to take away. We have fields that need tending. We have livestock that need to be seen after. We have dung that needs to be turned and spread. That shall be their sentence.
All righty. Hard labor? Is that what you're suggesting?
But they shall work in the fields for a time until we see what we can make of them.
Do they react?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Nope. I can hear you.
Okay, Roland did. Holy crap, a bunch of you just froze.
Interesting. Yeah, I had asked, do the Sky People, Scale People, do they react? No. Well, there we go.
Well, he did mention that it's there. Okay, I was gonna say he did mention it's thunderstorm.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Can you hear us?
He's
Okay,
connected.
so here's our
Maybe.
chance. Here's our chance to just make whatever we want canon.
Well, I just say now on the stream, I am Ava.
I think I was a
Ava.
GM.
You are the
And
GM.
you're
Oh no, wait, I'm Michael.
Yep.
That's who I am.
Who's the GM. So now anything you say goes now. You have the power.
I have nothing now. Okay.
Well, we seem to be having some technical difficulties
Yeah.
tonight. Oh, please hold.
Hello?
Oh, I guess now we're back in the right place.
We are.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That was Michael disconnecting again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to? Ooh, bless you.
Excuse me.
I guess I can take us back out to commercials again until we get the technical difficulties, unless people just kind of want to talk.
No, I mean, this is a chance for us to actually talk about what we want to do, because I know before they set out, because Ashcam is technically a better defended place, and they're going to be going out as a group without anybody else. There's maybe a chance for us to sit down and try to actually put use to the armor we kept, and at least retrofit it so everybody has a little bit of gear, a little bit of extra defense, as it were, because this is probably going to be better than the biosilk coats we have.
It seems like it.
So, out of character, Ashlyn would prefer the coats over that armor. That's just not.
Oh,
That's fine.
She's a form over function type of gal.
Well, she doesn't want to stand out that much.
Yeah, one of the reasons he's looking at retrofitting it is because what he's looking at doing is taking advantage of the breastplate and maybe the boot area, so like the shins and the feet and the forearms, because while the coats protect the body, they don't protect some of the other areas. His opinion is that the armor is probably, at least the breastplate portion, is probably better for protecting the chest area, which is more likely to get struck. Even if they're not wearing the full suit. And then they could probably paint them so that they're not that same shocking white.
So yeah, how much time is that going to take, and how much time do we want to spend in Ashcan?
We'd have to find out how much time it takes, but I know at the very least it might take a couple of days for him to be able to do that, because Roland's of the opinion he could, considering he learned a little bit about how the vehicle works just by using his magic, with some of the blacksmiths that are here and his magic filling in the gaps, they should be able to at least make it so they have slightly better protection than just the coats without restricting too much movement.
Sure. Definitely willing to stick around a couple of days. Also say goodbyes to people and stuff if we need to.
Right. It also gives the Jarl time to properly get us supplies without having to necessarily jump at, like, yes, you asked for these things, I'm going to jump and do it right away. It gives him a few days to organize it, so he can make up for the deficit later, because he still needs to think about his own people.
And it gives Lamar lots of chances to get into fights with folks. So I think I'm here for that.
I'm sorry, to get me to do what?
to go around and challenge people. I mean, so while you're here, you can try the new mail. You can do all.
Try the new mail. You can mess around with the sword in your mouth.
Oh, dude, I got to try that. But at this point, it feels like they're treating me like a demigod, so I'd feel like I'd be bullying them now that I've confirmed it, right? So I wouldn't be able to like fight them and feel good about it.
Nice.
On a one-on-one basis, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm saying.
I don't know. They're pretty tough. They might be able to still get them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're still tough.
And I guess the road starts here, right? So we can just go right up the road. Hey, welcome back.
I don't know what happened. My network just went like burped or something.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
While you were gone, we were discussing what the group's future plans are,
Okay.
at least out of character. And I know this is a chance, since the Jarl has to get Lamar fitted for armor. It's going to take a day, maybe two. And then we want to give him a couple of days to be able to gather the supplies without him having to, rush and get his people off of their regular duties to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It also gives Roland a chance, potentially with some of the blacksmiths in the area, to try to retrofit the armor so that they can have potentially slightly better protection than just what the biosilk coats give. Because he at least wants to do that for himself and potentially anybody else in the group who wants to have, because he's looking at, the arm guards, the shin guards, maybe setting up something for, using the breastplates at the very least. So they're slightly better armor.
All right. I'm going to be a dick.
Yeah.
Vambrace.
Yes.
Rebrace.
I don't know that much about armor. I'm not gonna pretend that I know about something I don't know about.
I know. I used to
Braces are on the arms.
I used to wear a full suit for medieval reenactment, so
I will bow to your mastery, sir. I am not going to pretend that I know what I'm talking about. But yes,
the problem is the OCD in me is just like I won't say anything.
Oh yes. So yes, he's looking at being able to at least get those pieces to supplement the biosilk coats. Hopefully, get them painted so that they're not that same shocking white. And hopefully with his magic, maybe dye the coat so it's not that they're not all that same shade of purple.
So Lamar,
A
suit of mail is +1 die armor, which just adds to your toughness. What's your current might?
My current might is 4.
All right, so you don't suffer the bulky feature, which would give you a -1 on acrobatic, speed, stealth, and swimming. So you're strong enough to wear this and not be slowed down. Now, I will note. So let me make a quick note here about equipment. Lamar is being given a piece of equipment. If you go to page, and this applies to also what you want to do, Roland. You go to page 93. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with equipment for points, and this can be something that eventually you spend experience points on. One of the things is 2 points will let you upgrade the armor, or you can reinforce the armor, and you can do this more than once. So you could do reinforced upgraded armor and get +2 dice, that kind of a thing to your armor. So your coat of mail could actually be +3 dice, which would put it almost on par with the armor that the Gator Troopers wear. So it's something to consider. So you were being given the armor for free. You don't pay any points for equipment anyways. But in the future, you may wish to upgrade it to represent that you've had things done to it, or it's been worked on, or Roland has magicked it or something. And Roland's sort of the same thing with what you're trying to do. You want to take 4-die armor and take the biosilk jacket and sort of make some armor for yourself. What is your current toughness?
My current toughness? 3.
So technically, please understand I'm saying technically you could have up to 8 dice of armor, but it's very hard to get equipment to give you +5 dice. What I can say, though, is that you can, because of what you're trying to do, you're going to get 2 dice of, let me see here. This is actually advanced.
I think the biosilk coats are already 2 dice, because what I was looking at doing was at least upping it by 1 to make it a 3 dice by instituting pieces of the futuristic armor.
All right. Okay. Yep. The issue is that it's going to be kind of bulky because you're wearing a bunch of rigid plates.
Okay. That's fine. I'm looking at spending some points later to make it fitted.
Okay. So what you're getting is +3 dice armor. I don't hear any. Well, don't ask me. I am deaf, literally. I don't hear any guitar playing. So you're talking about +3 die armor. So that what that is too for both Lamar and you, that is adding directly to your toughness whenever I ask for a passive defense. So you now have 6 dice. You have 3, 2. No, yeah, math. I can do math. You have 6 dice of armor if you need a passive defense. And if at any point your Omni power drops below 6 dice, you can use that instead. You always use your best defense. But it is going to be bulky, which means it's -1 to acrobatics, speed, stealth, and swimming, unless you get a might of 4 dice or better. Or you get it fitted.
And you said the chainmail was 2 dice?
Your armor, your mail code is only +1 die right now.
Okay.
You're also way tougher than him, I think, so it sort of evens out.
Yep, cool beans.
And you tend to use your active defense, which is like 10 dice, so you're pretty good on that regard.
I'm not mad at it. I was just trying to get it straight.
Yep. Well, certainly you can spend a few days getting the armor rebuilt. Now, taking to Smith's doesn't help. Like banging on this stuff with a hammer does not really do anything. What you can do is use your magic to sort of soften it, which would be basically using some of the various powers, I think like transform and all that, and you can sort of manipulate it to get what you want, but it does take time, which would be what you intend to do.
Yeah, part of the reason why he's taking it to the Smiths is because they'll know more about fitting it to his body than he will.
They help to an extent. They're not quite used to rigid plates like this, but they can work with it. The leather workers actually are a little more useful because they can sort of work out better how to explain how this might fit to you. So you spend some time with the craftspeople getting that done. With Lamar, what ends up happening is they sort of get him, T-posed out. They kind of size their largest coat, and they figure out where they're going to add some rings and such. And they get a number of people. Sort of interestingly enough, they do it instead of adding it directly to the coat. In some cases, they're just making the rings, and then one person is riveting all that to lengthen the coat and the sleeves out and such. But they're going to spend a few days putting that together. Anybody who watches them putting this together, you understand why it takes like a season to make one of these in full, because they're dealing with little tiny rings and they're actually riveting these rings together. It's crazy, the process that they're doing it, of course, all by hand. They don't really have they don't have power tools to speed up the process.
So we're trying not to get pinched as they're fastening rivets and rings around them and whatnot.
The general troopers sort of accept their lot. You're going to go work in the fields. Monk kind of argues and such, and they end up just giving her the worst absolute work. You get to muck out the animal pens. And and also they basically they have a couple of huskarls keep an eye on her so that she doesn't get any ideas. You're not sure if she's ever, you have a feeling she's just gonna be angry all the time. The rest of the troops, not so much. So while Roland and Lamar are doing their thing, what do the other three of you do?
So Edgar's going to do a couple of things. One is if there's anything that he can help with. So he wants to thank the Jarl and Aldous, for their hospitality, and make sure that they get the gifts that we receive them. If they need, and during this time, if they need any assistance that Edgar can help with, which is, with the constructs, can help with lifting, moving, doing all kinds of stuff. We'll help out with that while he is here. And express, try to be as diplomatic as possible. That we're really honored to be considered, friends of the Jarl. Thank them for bringing us in even before they knew that we were Wonder Workers, even before we knew we were Wonder Workers, right? That they were friends to us, and that can't speak for everyone, but I would say that we're honored to be friends with them and with Ashcan. So that's what Edgar's going to do, and also taking this time to say goodbye to the persons that we met, like the scribe and other folks as well.
Okay, Freya.
I don't necessarily know if there was anything that Freya really wanted to do while we're here. So she is probably just going to follow Ashlyn around.
Ashlyn?
Like a puppy.
Like a puppy.
I had a couple ideas. I have to decide which one I'm going with. But I think so Ashlyn is going to get let's say lost in some sketching, and she's basically drawing the imagery from the visions that Freya shared. And then she's going beyond that, and it looks like, especially from Freya, who knows her, it looks like she's plotting a new story. Like, she's sketching different characters, trying to figure out who the main character is going to be, what the story's gonna be, and she's coming up with a new comic idea.
While she's doing that, Freya's actually just gonna write in her notebook, just kind of writing out everything she's seen in her visions.
Okay. By the way, I may try to type up the letter of passage. I may actually go look for some period examples and pastiche that. I also am going to see if I can draw up the very rough map. I actually did on hex paper a more wargaming map, but I will see if I can reinterpret that, and you guys can have some props. I think I want to try to challenge myself with that. Water, food, notes. Do you show anybody else the artwork that you're sketching? Because I presume one of them might be, you can show, like, this is the Master of the World. Look how big they are compared to, like, Edgar, with Edgar, Edgar, you get an idea now, just like I don't know if you didn't see any of these things, and now you can see this huge serpentine humanoid creature. And you're like, wait, that's, like, this figure is Monk? Oh my God, these things are pretty damn big. All right.
I'm going to ask Ashlyn also, are we talking to Freya about powers, or are we not saying anything?
She's still sort of in denial.
Okay, I won't say anything.
Are you saying this in front of Freya?
Probably not.
Okay.
if Freya is, I don't know. If Freya if you want to be nearby, that's fine.
I could just see her, like, staring at you, and then, I can hear you, right?
Oh, I didn't see you there. Sorry. I should have known, though. Because, Anyway, that was it.
Oh yeah, I want to ask the Jarl if these if these poker chips are worth anything. Casino chips. We still never
He takes a look at them and finds them interesting in that they are of a metal he can't identify. But interesting enough, he takes one of the gold ones and actually does, and it doesn't do anything. And he kind of gives it a look, and let's go, Lamar. These coins are of a metal I don't recognize and of a place I don't recognize. I don't think this is silver or gold. I don't think you can use it. I don't think these will get you much in the market. Perhaps in the kingdom they come from.
Have you seen anything like this before?
Coins like that? No.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the heads up. And Huskarl, yeah, I like the way that sounds. Huskarl Lamar. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
What was that?
Never mind.
No, I didn't. The GM did not hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just like, yeah, I like the sound of that. Huskarl Lamar. Like, it just kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
From what I have heard, the title suits you.
He bows. I appreciate that.
Suits to make his head bigger.
Right. In due time. Oh, what do you guys end up doing with the other raft?
We're gonna dump it after we leave.
Okay.
The short swords, because Roland is gonna want to keep one of those, and probably one of the pistols, because he's gonna try and figure out if he can magic that to work for him too. But you know, what does the short sword give us? Just like an extra dice for might to attack with?
No, this is if you keep any of the general purpose knives, they're +1 die melee.
Okay.
The short swords are +2 die melee.
Okay.
You can't get the pistol to work. At least right now.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. If you basically if you like, you know, point it in the sky and pull the trigger, nothing happens.
I don't
He's still
like the
gonna hold on to one.
city in which you said that.
Well, he's got an omni power. You never can trust people with an omni power.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think before they leave, like, I don't know, the morning of the day that they plan to leave, Ashlyn would actually present the Jarl with, I think she's done his likeness in charcoal on, like, some really nice, I don't know what she would use for this. What would it be?
If she wants a big piece of paper, Roland has the big, like, he's got stuff he was using for mapping. So really large pieces of paper.
She's got her bag.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just trying to think of what she would use. It would have to be something durable.
Right, because his mapping paper is probably too smooth for charcoal.
Yeah.
You want a thicker, rougher paper for that.
Yeah, she would present the Jarl with an image of his likeness done in charcoal.
He's fascinated because, of course, this is an art style he's never really seen. The depth, it's very lifelike. It's almost a little frightening because it's much different from the art style. But the interesting thing is stuff like this, you're like, this is just natural skill. No, it's a wonder worker power. They are pretty much with all of you, anything that goes beyond their normal frame of reference becomes a wonder worker power. And it becomes almost an excuse. You know, Lamar is running around with a sword in his teeth, wonder worker. Roland is messing around with gear and trying to do things. It's wonder worker. You can do all this incredible charcoal sketching, wonder worker. It's a little odd because it's you're almost getting, you know, anything you do that's different, it gets categorized. But then they roll with it. They're just like, they're wonder workers. They have crazy powers. They can do amazing, insane, legendary things. We don't question it. So it's a little surreal. and strange, maybe a little off-putting. And he is, the Jarl is appreciative once he kind of understands, and maybe you demonstrate with charcoal. He's never seen this. The scribe finds it fascinating, and it will be placed in an honored. It'll be honored in the hall somewhere, which unfortunately you begin to realize it may end up with a coating of soot after a while. But so was the Last Supper, which got actually even really abused. Let's not talk about how badly that painting was treated. We'll just cut out the bottom because we need a door. So you have water, you have foodstuffs, you have. I'm going to type up this letter, and I'm going to see if I can sketch out a rough map. It won't be that hard. I have to dig out my old hex grids that I did and figure out and remember all the village names because I changed. They changed. I kept forgetting them. I write things down and I still forget them. But Lamar, you have +1 die armor. Roland, you have +3 die armor. Both of you have bulky, but Lamar can ignore it because he's very strong. The rest of you, if there's anything you want like that, at the very minimum, if any of you ask for it, you can get +0 armor, which just basically lets you use your toughness. It'd be like a heavy leather vest or buff coat, but it would basically let you use all of your toughness versus any like ranged attacks and things that you don't otherwise have a defense against. If not, don't worry about it, but you can add it to your equipment if you really wish.
Yeah, Ashlyn has the BioSilk jacket. She also, I know, made one for Freya.
And Edgar,
Okay.
Edgar has one
All
too.
right. All right. And if, like I said, if anybody wants one of the all-purpose knives, it's +1 die melee. Realize too that anytime you get something like that, that's for attack and defense. So
I think I am going to take one of the knives.
Yep. So finally, after about a hand of days, you're going to tow the other sky raft behind Roland's skiff. One of the problems you find is putting paint on this stuff just doesn't work. They don't have anything native that'll really stick to it and change it much. You can't really nail anything or rivet or you could try to attach stuff by maybe hanging it off of the waist high skirting and such, but you can't like rivet armor or anything to it or nail things. You can't really paint it. It's kind of annoying unless, of course, Ashlyn starts digging stuff out of her bag like automotive spray paint. That'll probably work. But anything that they have, dyes and such, it just doesn't seem to affect this.
Can I magic it on?
Yes. In that case, I'm basically going to say 3 dice gives you the effect power, which is an alternate to light. And if all you're trying to do is change the color or something, I'm like effect. So you eventually resort to spells. You effectively have 7 dice of muck around. And I'm not going to worry about its body because all you're doing is changing its color. So,
yeah, that's essentially what he's going to do is change the color of it so that it's not this shocking white, but something more like a more natural color, like something brownish. Now, his gear, on the other hand, he's like sort of painting it green so that it goes with like the browns of his pants and other stuff. But by the time he's done, when he steps out, like after the group sees him, he looks kind of like an adventurer you would see that comes out of like a YA novel. So like the long coat, because he's used magic to modify the coat a little bit. So like that long trench coat style with the vambraces and everything else and the breastplate. So he's like, now I feel like an adventurer. Let's do this.
You look like you came off an old Shadowrun cover.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So now you're facing the Great Trade Road, which runs pretty much when the sun is roughly about noon. It sort of sits roughly over the Great Trade Road, and so when they talk about sunward, that's what they mean. It just goes sunward as straight as you can. Where are you going?
I mean, we might as well head down the road.
Okay.
Second.
How many hands of days does it normally take one of their carts to get to the next town?
Hold on. Let me let me actually take a look at something really quick. I'm going to be very honest. I never really went that deep in my head.
Understandable.
All right. I don't have a scale on this. That's very interesting. Oh.
By foot, it took us, roughly half a day to walk from Fearcat to Ashcam?
Yeah. Right? And realize that when we talk about, like, you've determined by now, it's a 22-hour day, roughly Earth time, 22-hour day. And it is about 8 hours of 8 or 9 hours of about 8 hours of night, about 14 hours of day. So if it takes you roughly half a day to go somewhere, that's about 7 hours of walking at about 2 miles an hour. So you're talking about 14 miles, which is not that unheard of. Granted, England was eventually very tightly packed. You know, you could hit a village every few hours of walking, maybe every 10 or 12 miles. So that's actually about reasonable. Based on this map, 1, 2, 3 hexes. Say then each one of those is about 4 miles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. It's about a full day's travel to reach a place called, and this will be the name if it wasn't already, Thurso, which is the village most sunward that pays tribute or fealty to Ashcam. Yeah, I have a map. I actually found my hex map from the original game, and now, and that's at 25 miles an hour. It's maybe an hour away.
Right.
But that's if you go full speed.
It would probably not, because it's easier on Edgar if we're not. But what I'm looking at doing is getting outside of Thorkel's, Jarl Thorkel's territory, and then veering off one direction for essentially what would be about 2 days worth of travel, and then just dishing the extra raft. So it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Which should take us about a day to do based on speed.
All right. So you leave. A number of people see you off. You have Eric, Astrid, Jarl Thorkel, Aldous. A number of other people are there. And you start heading sunward down the Great Trade Road. It is, you get a closer look now that you're outside of the city. It is formed of smooth, tightly fitting blocks of something that is stone-like but isn't. You were reminded of the blocks that made up the Pyramid Plaza. The same, the pyramids and the obelisks themselves, and then the plaza blocks that made the floor. Same kind of material. Interesting enough, it's normally very straight. Now, what this means is that it runs very straight. It runs very level. And it has gutters and a curb, and the road is incredibly wide. It's about 50 feet wide. Now, it runs straight, but it does curve. So instead of cutting through hills, it'll go around them. If it comes across a gully or a stream or something, there's bridges, which are very sturdy. And you head not exactly, well, you head roughly sunward from Ashcam, and you soon find that you're following a river, which is to sunset from where you are, and the bridges are also about 50 feet wide. They do have a railing. They have art. They're sort of supported by arches, and you end up realizing that the road is much like the original. If you actually ever saw Cars, the way they described 66, it went with the so you're getting a scenic route, but you're also getting something very easy to travel with non-powered vehicles on. So it doesn't, and also they don't. If there's hills and everything, it doesn't cut through that. You are surrounded by a lot of forest and grassland, mostly green trees. Every now and then, things that aren't. Every now and then you see things that you realize show that you're not home, like things floating in the air, dangling from vines or creepers or roots. Occasionally things drifting across the sky that you figure are some sort of maybe a seed pod, but way bigger. Plants that are not green, maybe they're bluish or they're variegated, yellow and green or gold. Or they're silvery colored or red. You see animals that you don't always, that look something like they look kind of like this. Oh, by the way, Jack has decided he really likes to get up on the bridge right there, not on the controls, but sort of on there. So he gets he'll do the Titanic gag without him knowing it. He'll kind of put his wings out and just let the air flow over him. Excuse me.
Ashlyn definitely sketches that at some point and will actually put him in that scene.
The other thing that you notice is that you see buildings like what you suspect are ranches or farmsteads or orchards and such. And there's dirt roads that lead away periodically, some wider than others. Some are just tracks. Some are fairly wide. And you end up making, you turn to sunrise or sunset to dump this thing.
We're going to turn to...
Do you find a road and decide to turn down it?
Nope. I don't have to worry about roads. I hover over everything.
Okay.
So no, he's definitely not choosing a road when he drags it off. And he's looking for what looks like what would be a valley. So whichever side when he stops, I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
Flip a coin.
That's what I just did. He turns sunset.
Okay. Well, conveniently, like I said, the road is following a river, and there are several spots where you can pull over to sunset and find gullies and little valleys or tangled areas where you can dump this thing in the undergrowth and around with copses of trees around it and make it sort of disappear, or at least hide it.
That's the plan. I'm not going to blow it up, but I am. We could probably make it look like it crashed between myself and Edgar, and then just cover it with broken foliage. Yeah, dirt and foliage, etc. So it looks like it crashed here.
Right. Okay. This is a good stopping point. It is 10 o'clock. We did miss about 15 minutes or 10 minutes because my internet went. I don't know what happened. Like had a nice light. It showed it was connected. All of you froze, and then Discord just died, and I had to unplug my modem and replug it in, and then it picked back up again. We want to break here, or
I think this is a good place.
Yeah, this is a good place.
You're just going to keep following the road.
Yep.
All right.
We're off to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Well, in fact, I think I already know what next session's title is. We will borrow from a Rush song. We're on the road to adventure.
Adventure!
Alright.
I will not. Well, here actually, I'm going to take a screenshot, but I'm going to take a small. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna. Yeah. All right. So this is from the original game, and this is. I'm gonna tinker with this a little bit.
while you do that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight to everybody and thank you for watching. And I'm going to go ahead and take us out. So, good night. Thank you.
Weeks.
Good night, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
So I'm going to drop this into the